Hello, Glowbusters. Yes, of course they're serious. You do? You have? No kidding. Uh-huh. Oh, they'll cure your globitis this week. Thank you. We got one!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Glowbusters.
What are you supposed to be, some kind of a cosmonaut?
No, we're exterminators.
And now, here's your host.
And welcome everybody to Glowbusters Hyperborea. I am your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we are back with another Sunday show for you today. And we have a couple of great surprises for everybody. I think this is going to be kind of cool. For one thing, we have a new theme song, which Austin just sent it to me, and I don't know if I played the wrong one or he sent me the wrong one, but we're going to have that up for you here shortly, so you can all check out how the new theme song sounds. And of course, then we also have our guest on with us today, Ryan Zehm, which, boy, what an adventure this man is about to go on, people. This is something that most of us only dream of, and, you know, only really brave or crazy people go on, I think. So it's going to be an amazing story, you know, telling you what he has gone through to get to where he is now, and what brought him, to wanting to go to Hyperborea. A few things I can tell you about Ryan right now is he was on our show about 3, 4, or 5 years ago. It's been quite a while. And we were talking to him about, he was, I don't know if he's still running his Flat Earth column, or he talks to a lot of other people on Flat Earth pages across the internet. I know that. And he does some really interesting things. He also does some coding. Thinks he writes computer programs, et cetera, really intelligent man. I really like this guy. He used to have a channel called Spill the Truth, which was one of my favorite. And of course, his channel is now renamed to Ryan Zehm. So so that's who we're dealing with today. So we're going to get to him and a lot of other stuff. But first, let's go ahead and introduce the panel. First up, as always, we have Jeran from Jeranism. How you doing today, Jeran?
Fantastic, Bob. Excited. This is a huge topic and something a lot of people have been looking at for a while now. And I'm a big fan of Ryan's, and I'm a big puss. So I'm happy to see somebody else come along that's willing to brave the elements, because I'm a California guy and I like to be warm and comfortable.
Yeah, no kidding. I totally hear you. I wrote him a note yesterday and just said, I'm 61 now, but, going on an adventure like that is something that I really kind of wish, looking back, that I would have taken an adventure like that. But, you don't. But it's just kind of nice to be able to live it vicariously through Ryan's eyes. And I just think it's going to be amazing. And I hope he returns safely, if he even decides to return. Who knows what he's going to find down there. It's kind of chilling as much as exciting,
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to hearing about it and then asking some, because, of course, we all have questions when we hear that this is going to go on. So it'll be a good show.
Yep, for sure. Okay, next up we have John TheMorgile. How you doing today, John?
Hey, everybody. Hey, Bob. Hello, guys. Good to see you. Happy Sunday.
Awesome. And Hero, I guess, is not here today. I don't know where he's at today. He didn't respond in the show notes. But maybe he'll jump on. He's always fashionably late, so that's our hero. We'll just deal with that. So we will move along to Mr. Austin Whitsett from Whitsett Gets It. How you doing, Austin?
Good And my bad if I sent you the version without me, or I emailed the right one for sure a second ago. But I'm doing good. Glad to be with the familia, per usual.
Awesome. That sounds good. All right, so I'm downloading the song now. So let's see, GB intro. There we go, and save. Okay.
Basically, just to clarify, I've been handicapping this the whole time, just so everyone knows. Like, it was, I'm the one that was lacking, and kind of just like crushed and killed her part super fast. And I've just kind of needed to do it for a second, and apparently now I'm sending Bob the wrong one. So I have to take this one for the team. So just to throw that disclaimer out there.
That's okay. We forgive you. Stuff happens. No big deal. So, all right. And last but certainly not least, our guest of honor, Mr. Ryan Zehm. Ryan, you have been here. It's been several years since you've been here. We're really glad to have you back. And we are absolutely amazed at what you're about to do. I can hardly wait to hear what you have to say about it. How you doing, sir?
Good. Thank you for the invite once again. I know last time I had a blast talking with you guys, and we were talking about the Michelson-Morley experiments.
Yes.
And their relation to Einstein and how Einstein was a complete buffoon. So that was an excellent podcast and or video cast, and glad to be back to talk about the current adventure north.
Awesome. Yeah. So we will get to that very shortly. But yeah, we were talking about that, and let's see, you were also I was also highlighting your adventures in kind of crashing that expo, the computer expo. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was a blast. I got to do more stuff like that, and that's maybe going north in a way is go up there and crash their party up there, sneak into a play. That's what I was doing at the GDC, the Video Game Development Conference, and I snuck my way in. That video's on my channel, but kind of similar with up north in Hyperborea. They're going to shut it off. I'll sneak my way in.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, what happened to your old channel? Did it get taken down or?
Deleted. YouTube deleted it.
Oh, those dogs. Unbelievable.
But I was, at the same time I was running a game development channel where I would teach basically Unity, 3D, C# programming, and virtual reality, which I was incredibly ashamed to be a part of that industry, but I was, and I got to see definitely the dark side of the business side behind the scenes. But yeah, I was running because I had a second game dev channel. I said, well, if YouTube's going to delete me, then I'm just going to upload all my videos onto my other channel, and so that's where my channel is at now, which is just called Ryan Zehm.
Right.
So Spill the Truth kind of exists still over. I have most of my videos backed up. I lost a number of them, but most of them I had backed up at archive.org. So Spill the Truth is still alive and kicking on archive.org.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. All right. So yeah, and one of the other things I thought was absolutely amazing is, while you were in the making of that film, when you went to that game developer thing, was you were talking about how you really wanted to start a game development business, and you had limited funds, and you decided, well, I can either pay rent and use all the funds for that, or I can just be homeless for a while and sleep out and save up that money and start your company. And of course you did that, and obviously I'm sure life is much better for you now, but man, it's amazing. Your attitude in being able to do something like that, just say, nope, this is what I'm going to do. I'm dead set on it. I mean, it's really impressive, Ryan. It just blew me away when you did that.
Well, thank you. It was, and again, that one was a big adventure and a lot of fun. During that time I was staying in a tent up on the mountain, and I would ride my bike up there every night and ride my bike down, and living on the mountainside, riding my bike every day. It was really enjoyable. There wasn't a lot of, there might be a few comforts that you miss out on from a getting a house loan and all this. But other than that, I was pretty much having more fun than the person in their house. And same goes for up here in the north. A lot of people say thank you, and I'm like, I'm having a blast, and I can say, well, you don't need to thank me. Thank everybody who's supporting it, because this, I think, if people engaged in a lifestyle like this, they would have a hard time going back to mortgages and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, a lot of people are saying thank you because they're living vicariously through you, in total admiration. So I get it, believe me.
God, yeah, and the like you said in your email, right? I'm 39, so and the coming up on 39, anyways. And I said I've always wanted to get to the South Pole, Antarctica. And the North Pole is a good training ground for that. But I said, right now at 38, if I don't go now, it's going to be too late. So that's why I'm all in and taking my opportunity to get those lifetime goals of reaching the South Pole, which of course is going to start with a training by going to the North Pole.
Yeah. Well, you also are sure. I am hoping you are aware of the legalities, required to even get to the South Pole, and that that may be a little bit more difficult than the North Pole.
Right. And that's another good reason to start at the North Pole. Supposedly, there's not going to be anybody trying to prevent you from going to the North Pole. We'll have to go up and check and see if that's true or not. But versus Antarctica, where you got the Antarctic Treaty, and if you do just go sneak your way into Antarctica, you could end up in some pretty big trouble.
Yeah, nobody's going to come get you.
I love it, bro. Do it. Let's find out if they are there. Or, that's awesome, bro. So kudos to you, and do it.
Yep. So, and by the way, guys, for those of you that might be having the same thoughts as Ryan, kind of running off to the North Pole or trying to find Hyperborea, he would very much love to, have a multi-person adventure. This is something that obviously it makes a lot more sense if you have multiple people, because you can spread out the load. It's safer, obviously, and it's
heat.
Yeah, heat. Oh yeah, heat.
Two bodies generate a lot more heat than one.
Yep. Exactly. So if after you hear about this today, you may want to, hit him up and say, hey, let's do this, because he's definitely looking for somebody to, kind of do that. You've already spent a small fortune in equipment, and all the things that that you've gotten already. Of course, if you also have several other things you'd like to get, like a snowmobile. But, that may
one thing at a time.
Yeah, one thing at a time, right? Just keep focused on it and stuff. But
and the gear that I have gotten, I have to say thank you to everyone who's donated. I have my website set up, destinationhyperborea.com, and there's been a lot of people from the truth community, like the YouTube channel Streets of Tartaria and Stuffed Beagle, who have contributed both financially as well as sending up extremely good Arctic gear, negative 40-degree marmot sleeping bag and tent as well. So there's huge thanks to the community, because without them, I wouldn't be able to make the journey. But yeah, some of the gear up here, and to get everything you need, it does take it does take a little bit of money to get what you need. But as far as food and all that goes, Expedition Diet, I've posted all of that information to my YouTube channel, and the diet isn't that expensive to get the daily food packs. So we're still operating on a budget, and going to get up there, without requiring $100,000 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'm sure you will do well. So, all right. So I'm anxious to get started talking about this, but I also know that I want to hear this Globebusters theme. So, we will get back to the conversation in just a second. And I'm going to go ahead and play Austin's theme song here. Oopsie. Let me stop it there. I'm going to go ahead and play it. And hopefully we got the right one this time. And we don't have any video with it. Maybe we'll put together some video with it or something. But right now it's just a song. And you guys let us know what you think of it. This is Austin and his fiance Kai. Here we go.
Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
Don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is flat.
Piecing up the puzzle, need to burst your bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down, be humble. Got the ball, you better fumble. You'll get mad, cause at this fight I'm about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Arrow slaying Jesuits and Zack shark is evident. Dead to earth electric and it's residential residence. It's heavens and I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
Blowbusters taking over. Bye-bye, moon man and rubber. Narcissus so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Blowbusters taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.
Awesome. That was really good, Austin. Wow.
Awesome, Austin. Nice work. Liked it.
Gracias.
Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah. Now you think we can come up with some good video to put with it, Jeran?
Yeah, I'll come up with something.
Okay, cool. You're good at that. You guys are the artistic people in the group. I'm more autistic than artistic, so. All right, so there it is, and then hopefully we'll have that up soon on maybe the next show or something. We'll have a video to go along with it. But thank you very much, Austin and Kai. That is awesome, and I really like it. We've had several theme songs over the years, and Jeran's done some of them all by himself. One of them we actually bought from a group that was making kind of like cover songs, and that was our current theme that we've been using, and we've just had all kinds of different ones. They've all been really good, so it's just kind of nice to start out seventh season or season 7 with a brand new theme song. So there we have it. All right, so let's get back to you, Ryan. And first thing I want to point out to everybody is that Ryan has a website. It's called destinationhyperborea.com. And I've got it up right now, and everybody should be able to see it. You guys should be able to see it on Skype too, yes?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And we'll kind of go through some of that in a little bit, but it's got, the current goal, everything that he's doing. If you wish to donate, you can make a donation there. I put a nice donation in there for you today, Ryan, so that'll help you out.
I've seen that. Thank you, Bob.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So, and then we also have Ryan's YouTube channel. Both of these are in the show notes. For if you guys just want to go to them, they're already there. So, all right. So, I guess Ryan, it's kind of crazy. We're talking about a place called Hyperborea, which Wikipedia says in Greek mythology, the Hyperboreans, ancient Greeks, were a mythical people who lived in the far northern part of the known world. Their name appears to derive from the Greek meaning beyond Boreas, and some scholars prefer different derivation. Anyway, the bottom line is they called this a mythical land, and it may be, but there's also a lot of stories about people that have allegedly traveled to Hyperborea. We have the Mercator map and all this stuff. So what exactly got under your skin about this? What made you decide that you wanted to, pursue this?
Well, it started with Antarctica, and then that's what the flat Earth community is mostly focused on, right? Is Antarctica. And if you go to Google Earth and you look at Antarctica, you don't get any real images. It's a bunch of stitched together nonsense down there, and especially south of 85 degrees, they just stretch the pixels and they don't even let you see what's down there. And so I studied up on all of the various Antarctic expeditions and explorers like Roald Amundsen, Richard Byrd, and Shackleton, Scott, all these guys, to learn about their diets, how they travel, what they're using as far as clothing and tents, and also to look at their accounts to see what they wrote about Antarctica, and find hints and clues which might lead to truth about Earth. So then I started looking at the North Pole on Google Earth, and if you pull up Google Earth and look at the North Pole, you have the same problem. They don't show any satellite photography of what's at the North Pole. They show some water, which is not real. It's at the North Pole there's permanent ice. The ocean is ice. So they say it's shrinking and melting, but it's still up there and it's not visible. Of course, on Google Earth they show water, and there isn't a lot of satellite photography of what's at the North Pole. So just like with Tartaria and the mud flood and all that, I turned to history for truth. And, what does history have to say other than there's 4 islands at the North Pole, and it describes the climate there, the people, they go into great detail about Hyperborea and what it's like up there. So I think the flat Earth community overall has avoided the North Pole, assuming that science is correct about the North Pole, that there's nothing up there. It's just a polar ice cap. And I think it's something that the community should question a little bit more intensely, and give our historians more credit, because especially with the Tartarian revelation and all of this information that we're uncovering, we can look back and we can say that our history, the people who have come before us, know a lot more than the modern scientist with all of his great Big Bang knowledge. So I think that's where it's all rooted in. And in addition to the flat Earth community looking at Antarctica, I think we also need to go look at the North Pole, not just through books and the internet, but with boots on the ground, going up there to see what we find.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And honestly, it is so blatantly obvious at this point how much we have been lied to about virtually everything in history. And this whole Tartaria thing that has come up, recently, and all the other discoveries that have come along with it, the Antiquitech that goes along with it. It appears that we had free energy that was just being harvested right out of the air, which we can do that today, but obviously they had a much more efficient system for distribution and transporting that energy back in the old days, maybe just a couple hundred years ago. Because I think that some of the technology that they're using that in is no more than a couple hundred years old at the most. So, they are destroying all of these old historical sites and, just trying to erase them from people's memory. And for whatever reason, the truth is manifesting itself anyway. And it's just amazing that this is happening.
And I even hate to use the word, but the science or how that type of free energy works, which, it seems like there's even remnants of it even into the early 1900s with the 1915 San Francisco World Fair and some of the, it's, 150, 200 years ago, it seems like it was here. Maybe just going to the North Pole and looking and finding out what's there, finding out it's not just a polar ice cap, you may find something that would give you hands down empirical evidence of that we're not on a ball, of course, and as well as clues about how to harness that free energy if it's still possible. It's hard to say. I'm not sure if various people. Yeah, Jeran.
Yeah, just ask you a question real quick. So you said that you think the North is permanent ice, not just water. Where are you getting that information from?
Well, like all the North Pole explorers, Morgell's land, and everybody who's gone up to the North Pole, that's, you can go to NASA's website and see a map of the polar ice cap and compare that to Google Earth, and then you'll instantly know that, either NASA's lying about the ice or Google is lying because they're not showing the ice.
They're both they're both lying, and like maybe you have to trek a bit of ice and then you get to the habitable land.
Right. And it seems, and that's one reason why I want to just go from land from 45 degrees where I was actually down by 42, but just to round up, I say 45 degrees to 90 degrees north by land, not flying, not, get there by land so that I can go and experience the cold and see what I find, all the way up to 90 degrees. But so much,
bro. I would have gone with you. It's
a blast, and I haven't even gotten to the the real fun stuff yet. I had basically three days of it before the Royal Canadian Mounted Police showed up at my tent, and apparently there was the ice road truckers who had seen my tent had called in for them to go pick up a frozen body, and it was negative. The lowest temperature I seen was negative 38. So I had to turn back, and but now that it's March, and I had to get a couple more pieces of gear shipped in, specifically a bivy bag, but to keep my sleeping bag dry. But now I'll be going, back up for a 600-mile haul, and it'll be a real adventure, and I'm actually equipped for it this time. But yeah, looking at you can go look at NASA's website and see the current state of the polar ice cap, and all of the modern polar explorers, such as Morgell's land, they take their photos and post their Instagram videos and all this, and supposedly what happens is you need to leave basically the northern tip of Greenland around about February, and because it takes about 3 to 4 months to get from there to ski on the ice to the North Pole and then get all the way back. And if you got to leave kind of early, because supposedly as the sun comes up, it starts melting all of the ice up there, and so Bourget has to bring skis and an inflatable kayak, because he has to get into his kayak and paddle to the next piece of ice, because the ice is supposedly breaking up.
Wow. Okay. So, just out of curiosity, I mean, you're kind of showing a route here, starting off in Montana and going up through Larange, Black Lake, Baker Lake, and up here. Now, obviously, unless you're going to use the old Mercator maps, we don't have any really real way of guiding you there, right? I mean, GPS doesn't show up, or I wouldn't imagine it would take you anywhere there. So, how exactly are you planning on kind of making your way up there?
Well, I have about every. Originally, I wasn't planning to bring in any GPS, but after camping and the temperature went to negative 38, I guess you could say I was scared to death. I've never camped in temperatures that cold, and I had no cell phone. I had no, I had no way to contact anybody. And as the temperature dropped to like negative 35, I was scared to go to sleep because I didn't know. I was afraid I'd wake up shivering, or I'd wake up frozen.
Yeah, so wake up dead.
Exactly. It was scary. It was my tent shrunk so bad that it bent my tent poles, and I couldn't, like, that tent's practically not usable anymore. I had to get a new tent. But
is that about as cold as it gets then? I mean, on your whole trip, do you expect much colder?
It shouldn't get colder than that. And even for going to the North Pole, it basically maxes out at about negative 40. So I've pretty much experienced the coldest temperatures that, in fact, a lot of days. I'm right now in Larange at checkpoint number 3, or let's see, two on the map there, and a lot of days here in Larange, it's been colder than it is at the North Pole over the winter, and that's an anomaly. Why is it colder in Larange, which is at 55 degrees north, than it is all the way up at Alert or 90 degrees north? So
the weather patterns are whack all over the nation, actually all over the world right now. There's some really strange things going on with them. So it's hard to tell why. I wouldn't say it's from any, particular solar activity or anything like that, because that seems to be fairly normal. But usually anomalous weather like that comes from, crazy sunspot cycles and stuff. But I really have no idea what would be causing that to be, making the weather so whacked out right now, because it's weird everywhere.
Just to throw in my random 2 cents here, but the reason like the skull and bone numbers is 322. It's not a random number, right? It's around the exact time every year that you have the spring equinox, where there's equal time of day and night. And so it really actually is on 320 this year. But say the reason that number is so important is because this area begins to open up. It's like paradisical nature, right? I don't know, speculation. But
322 is also Masonic skull and bones. Tossing that one in there.
Exactly. That's what that's why that number for skull and bones is that, because like what we would call March 22nd, right around then every year you have the spring equinox where you have life beginning, the new year. So they know it's New Year. That's why when everyone celebrates their New Year's Eve, everyone's like 3, 2, 1, New Year, because that's the day before 322, which is the New Year. And they know that, but there must be some important knowledge behind it. And I think it would be maybe the paradisical nature, like it becoming inhabitable at the north happens when the year begins. Speculation.
And from what you've seen, Ryan, June, July, August is supposed to be like hot there, right?
Oh yeah, because it's 24 hours of sun. So the summer solstice, the summer solstice, the sun, is basically going to be the hottest day of the North Pole, and the sun never goes down. You get 24 hours of sunlight, and north of 66 degrees. So the
temperature is supposed to be like in the 80s, 70, 80.
That's the crazy thing. They say that it's like negative 30, and then I'm saying how is the ocean ice melting if it's negative 30? Because I'm up here in negative 30, and water, I don't care if it's salt water, it doesn't stand a chance. It's frozen solid. They say that during the summer it can get down to -30, but they also say that it's so hot because of climate change that the polar ice cap is melting, right? So
Right, they don't want you to go so far that you surpass the Arctic terrain.
there's been statements made in the last 2 years where they say nobody can go to the North Pole anymore because the ice is getting so thin that an airplane can't land on it for a rescue. So if an airplane can't land on it for rescue, they don't want anybody to ski out there. So there's been statements made in the last 2 years that nobody can ever go to the North Pole anymore because the ice is getting too thin at the northern polar ice cap.
And what they meant to say was there was too much attention on the area that is the north, and we've been low-key restricting any type of private exploration anywhere near that area. But since people are starting to hyper-focus on it, we need to make sure people can't come here. And they scare you with the idea of, like, lost, cold, you'll die. But they always allude in all of their propaganda media that there's an area that's basically paradise. And okay, that's consistent with the historical knowledge, which we know they lied about and are consistently accurate and in fact advanced. So I just like Bob said at the beginning, I'm living vicariously through you, bro, because I 100% support it.
I'm looking at weather map right now, and it's funny because I just put in North Pole on weatherspark.com, and the numbers that come up it can't be right. It's talking about it being between 50 and 80 degrees in June and July. So I don't know where this is from or where it's talking about North Pole, but it's showing the North Pole. And then what do you see for topographic as far as elevation changes? This is showing really, really flat, yeah?
But the North Pole, it's just ocean, so everything, it's you're just at sea level, other than the ice smashes into itself and then causes these pressure ridges, which make like small miniature mountains of ice that you gotta hack and saw your way through to get your sled through it. But so pressure ridges are, but it's nothing. But yeah, it's just flat sea level. The closest land to the North Pole, I think, is basically 400 miles away.
And yeah, according to this too, I mean, the wind is not supposed to be bad.
It really wouldn't be. And if the ice is melting, which sea ice, salt water freezes at 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the sea ice is melting, that means it's practically it's got to be 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And if it's 30 degrees Fahrenheit, I mean that's t-shirt weather when you're exercising hard.
Yeah.
I mean, right. I've snowboarded, and when it hits 30, you basically got to take your coat off and go in your t-shirt because it's too hot. So,
dude, I think it's paradise. I think it's paradise. So, like, I'm in Florida right now. That's pretty close, right? I think it's paradise. I think they've shown us that. So, like, dude, you're doing the thing that they have put all their cards in that no one will ever do.
And here's what frustrates me. Masons are practically the only ones who have had the balls to go do it. And that drives me nuts because, you got Richard Byrd, Antarctic explorer, Master Mason. You got to join the Masonic Order of the Penguin in order to go with him. Great. And then you get the North Pole. You get Perry. Perry's a Master Mason. And time and time again, it's always Masons who are the ones, and you get guys like Colin O'Brady in modern times, right? You go does this goofy little Antarctic ski that's a complete
too. That guy is cousin of the Queen.
Right. And these guys, time and time again, it's like it's only Masons, and that's frustrating me. It's like, well, look, is a Mason the only guy who has enough grit to go get a little bit of cold and go find out what's up there? Because I think.
Let me ask Austin a question. Austin, if that's the case, and I tend to agree with you, but then they can't let him do that. So what is our best case scenario if it's true that there's a paradise there, there's Hyperborea, or there's something other than what we're being told? They're not going to let him just go up there, take video of it, and come back and post it on YouTube. So
hey, I've got one solution for that. Hey, Bob, can you switch over to the website for a second?
He has to be able to document the interception.
On the right-hand side, you'll see right next to contact. Oh, back on the website, you were almost first one.
I was on the wrong one. Not that one. Not that
Right
one.
there.
They're out. There we go.
Yeah, now right next to contact, you see prayer team.
Okay.
Now, whatever religion, I don't think it's all that relevant, but or even if you just meditate or send positive vibes. But it basically comes down to this. In my eyes, and it's flat out true if you study it, that Freemasonry is a satanic organization. So something like this is going to come down to a spiritual battle where basically I believe that God would have to allow it to happen, and he would have to intervene and say, you know what, I'm going to make their stupid plane and their stupid boat go this way, and their radar that flies over to get the body heat signature is going to fail when it flies over, and so it's
yes.
I believe that it would take some sort of supernatural intervention, and I'm not comparing myself to anybody in the Bible or anything like that.
I actually agree with you, Ryan.
If we study the Bible, we can see that there was times where God, not even the Bible, if you study Tartaria, I'm going to give a couple of three examples. The first one, let's say Moses, and the crossing of the Red Sea, and God parts the water, and he walks right through a stinking lake. Absolutely impossible. And then you get, Noah in the ark, right? Simple enough. And now, if I go to Tartaria and I study Genghis Khan and some of this stuff, I found a old book that talked about a Tartarian Christian who literally moved a mountain because the king in the area said, "You guys believe the Bible?" And they said yes. And he said, "Okay, well, it says in here, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. So I'm going to give you 10 days to move a mountain, and if you can't do it, I'm going to kill you." And so on the 10th day, these Tartarian Christians actually moved the mountain. And so anyways, I think that
let's go. I love it.
That's my answer to, are they going to allow me? It's probably would be some sort of a battle in the supernatural or spirit realm to see success.
Keep going, bro.
Yeah, I think that, and I don't want to be a naysayer because I'm really excited about it, and I think it's a good idea. I hope more people join you because I don't like the idea of you being alone, because I just look at all the possible outcomes, and really, to me, since I kind of figured, let's say there is something there, whatever it is, it's not what we're told. So I would think that they're not going to let you see that. So that means you're either going to get A, turned away, or B, eliminated. So let's say that they turn you away. Would you have footage of that? Probably not, right? I don't know how that would work, and then that would be the best possible scenario. The second best, not the best scenario, but the other scenarios are not good, because if let's say you go missing and they have to send a bunch of teams up there, and then the report is flat earther missing at North Pole, cost $13 million to go look for him, and they couldn't find him, or something like that. So I don't want to be a naysayer. I'm just wondering, have you thought about those scenarios that it would be quite easy for them to eliminate you, especially if you're by yourself, and then claim that you were lost and they had to spend all this money to find you, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's and my answer is none of the above. Give me an excuse to sit on my butt and stay on the computer.
Totally agree with you on that. I mean, there were so many people that were bad-mouthing the convoy, right? And my thing was, as I said, why would you badmouth that? It's like people who are sitting at home who are just saying, I don't like these guys going and doing anything. So I'm certainly not badmouthing it at all. I think it's very brave and very noble. I just am trying to think of the best case scenario. And if it is something that we're not told, and it is something that's a lie, they're not going to let you see it and then come back and tell about it. I mean, it's just something I can't.
That's proof, bro. He made them prove it.
But I do have 10 micro SD cards that are 32 gigabytes each. So I got 320 gigabytes of potential video, and those micro SD cards are quite small. There's some simple options such as swallowing or maybe even hiding one. under my tongue or something like that. So so if it comes down to it, hopefully I could catch some video of something and sneak one of those little tiny micro SD cards out.
That would be amazing.
If the
footage.
military picks me up and takes me back, I think that's good evidence that something's up there that's classified.
I agree.
I agree. That's our best. Yeah.
I'm not breaking any laws, so they can pick me up and turn me back. And by the way, there's a Tim Hortons at Alert, so if they pick me up and take me back to Alert, at least I get to go back to a nice donut and a hot coffee, and at the same time, evidence that there's something classified up there that we need to go figure out a way to get past them.
So, aren't there similar prohibition laws? And not that I'm for them or against them. Of course, I'm against them. But aren't there similar laws in the North as there are in the South?
As far as I can tell,
the
no.
Arctic Treaty.
As far as I can tell, no. There's, I mean, some of the local people said you can't take dogs to the North Pole. And then I looked it up online, and sure enough, there's people who take dogs to the North Pole. So I mean, if you can take dogs there, I mean, that's like the major no in Antarctica is ever taking sled dogs there again, probably because it's the best form of travel. But other than that, you can still take sled dogs to the North Pole, and there's really no, as far as I can tell, not much. No Arctic Treaty or nothing like that.
Looks like it's a crazy energy field, right? And there's this a certain time of year the Earth begins to come back to life, basically, and things become rebirthed. And if you go to where that's happening at the pinnacle of it, the energy, then you experience basically the ultimate paradise. And they'll keep that secret from you. And like you said, what would have you pretty seamlessly waltz into the energy field, if you will, is the blessing of the Creator.
Yep, I agree. Because the Masons have a pretty strong. I mean, you got the Coast Guard, you got the Air Force, they're out there with their boats, their planes, they got submarines under the ice. So it's, they're quite a Goliath to be sure, but that's not going to stop me from pursuing Arctic exploration and say, oh, well, I guess Masons are the only guys who get to go explore that part of Earth and see those beautiful parts of the Earth, not only the land but the sky, Aurora Borealis and the 24-hour sun. Things that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And I haven't seen the Northern Lights yet, but they're hopefully coming soon. And as well as that, it'll be amazing to experience the 24-hour sun and see that with your own eyes.
What about experiencing Mars? That's going to be cool. Just pass by.
Yeah, I'm actually going to Mars on the way to the North Pole, I'm going to be passing by Mars.
Oh, cool.
And think about some of the footage. And that's the area where I need to worry about military coming to me and taking my SD cards. Because when I go to Devon Island, I'm going out there to film the whole area and find their little robots. And then you can compare my footage to that day's picture of Mars, and you can match the two up.
That's awesome. So what do you, I'm looking, you're like 2,500 miles ish, right?
To the north. Yeah, I think 2,400 miles to the North Pole right now. I'm at 55 degrees north and I have 35 degrees left.
2-3 miles an hour. What do you shoot for?
Well, it's 15 miles a day. 7.5 before lunch and 7.5 after lunch. That's my target. My next.
That's about 100 days then, right?
Well, wait.
I mean, saying if it was,
you got to talk to me in smaller stretches, or I'm going to get scared away here. My next stretch is 600 miles, and at 15 miles a day, that's going to take me 40 days. Okay. And that should be fine because Moses went up to the wilderness in Mount Sinai for 40 days to get the 10 Commandments. Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days to be tempted by the devil, and Noah went into the ark for 40 days on a boat. So if I can't go spend 40 days out in the trees, and then I need to man up. And so, yeah, it's 600 miles, 15 miles a day. It's going to take me 40 days.
A lot of people in the chat are saying that this is putting your life in danger by publicizing this. I tend to think the opposite, really. I think that
it would turn me into a martyr. The more people that talk about it, the better.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the way I felt, because people always say to me, if you're right about the flat Earth, why don't they just get rid of you? Like, that'd be the worst thing that they could do. Yeah, that would propel people to what they killed Jeran for talking. Okay, then that kind of tells people that I'm not some crazy guy. So I think the same thing is true for you. I think it's better that people know where you're at all times.
And if the Earth is a sphere and the and there's just ice a little bit of ice and water up at the North Pole, then the military and the governments and everybody should have no problem with what I'm doing, and they might laugh and say I'm crazy or something, and I'm going to freeze to death. But other than that, they should really just have no problem with it.
Yeah, there's my wife Cami has been looking at the magnetic patterns up around the north, and there's some very interesting things happening magnetically up there. And especially right around Thule Air Force Base, or Thule Air Force Base, however you pronounce it, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we were just wondering if this alleged Mount Meru was actually closer to that spot than somewhere else. And there's also some other things that she was curious about. But she might have a question for you here in a bit about your route, because there are some things that may be of interest to see. If you're going to be on foot going around that.
Yeah, and I encourage anybody who kind of studies that route and might see something interesting that I need to go check out. And yeah, I definitely magnetic anomalies up there, and then you've got of course the magnetic North Pole, which is not my target right now. Of course, it's the geographic North Pole, but and the magnetic North Pole on the move. And what significance that has, I'm not sure. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And I had also found an account from a guy who said that he spent a real guy who spent 30 years in the Arctic, and he said he found Mount Meru, and that he had gotten stuck to it one time because he had a mining pick and a bunch of metal stuff on him, and he actually got stuck to the mountain. So there are guys who there are accounts of people who say they found that mountain.
That's crazy, because you would think that it would literally rip the iron out of your blood, something that would have that much of a magnetic field around it. I mean, It's crazy, but yet something has to be there, because otherwise how else could we have these various readings in microteslas all the way thousands of miles south away from there? That means that the originating field has got to be freaking enormous. Does your cell phone or anything, do you have anything that will give you the field strength of magnetic fields? A lot of cell phones do, but does yours?
No, I'm not taking a cell phone. I have a Garmin InReach Mini, a small with to have the SOS button on it in case I get into trouble. And it lets me send a simple text message. But I don't have. That's a good tool that I don't have with me, is some kind of magnometer or something to measure the the magnetic force in the area.
I think that would be huge, Ryan. I really do. I think that would be absolutely mandatory. I mean, if you're looking for Mount Meru, that seems to me that would be the most useful tool you could ever have.
Yeah, and it seems like you could follow a compass there. I mean,
you can follow a compass, but unfortunately, the compass doesn't give you the signal strength, the magnetic field strength in microteslas, and that to me seems like if you're tracking that, you should be able to also see a gradual increase as you get closer and closer and closer to that magnetic north in Tesla strength.
So what we got to do to get the best version of that too?
Austin.
Oops, I'm sorry, Austin, you broke up.
So what do we got to do to get the best version of that to him?
Well, then there's
find one.
Yeah, then there's also the issue of how do you generate power for it. I do have a solar panel, but unless it's analog, then it's power is
most
a bit
everything
of an
uses
issue.
USB powering these days. I'm sure we could find something, but seriously, Ryan, that's something I would think you would absolutely have to have. That's a must-have tool.
And it would, if I'm truly in search of Mount Meru, then it's probably my second expedition, because right now my target is 90 degrees north geographic. And Mount Meru might be there, but I tend to think not.
I doubt it. I seriously doubt it.
Yeah, I think that, all of the polar explorers, that's their goal. So that's my first.
I would just like to see a good, honest magnetic measurement, bearing and signal strength, field strength from the North Pole, right? To wherever the magnetic North Pole is, right?
Yes, that would be. That's a good point. If I go to geographic north and then from there see, get those readings.
Yep, because I don't believe a damn thing the government says at all.
Right.
My next
batteries that were solar powered, like on your backpack, for example. Say you're walking with the sun to your back, they charge the batteries. You can even just flip it over to the other side. It's just hanging on your backpack, and those mobile chargers charge for you, and then you can use. So when you use the compass and you head north, aiming for geographic north, you can get an analysis of the magnetic data as well. You know what I'm saying? Is that like possible? Would they freeze? I guess I'm trying to think. Like, would you have to get some ones that would freeze?
The batteries were a big shock to me, and that's the cold killed all my batteries. It killed my camera, my laptop, my flashlights, everything. I was out there in the dark because the cold killed all the batteries. So you got to keep your batteries in your coat at all times. My flashlight batteries are in my coat. My camera batteries are in my coat. And my
so how far north did you get that time when your batteries all died?
57. I got to 57 degrees north. That's my.
So we need a way where you can obtain the solar energy, but the batteries don't freeze. Correct?
Yeah, you just got to keep. They just have to be removable lithium-ion batteries. Lithium phosphate is the best, but they generally don't make lithium phosphate for smaller devices. You kind of would need like a car-sized lithium phosphate battery, and then charge all of your other lithium-ion batteries, and all those have to be kept in your coat. Every single battery does, and then you just got to take it out of your coat, put it in the device, use the device, turn it off, and the battery goes right back in your coat.
Is there a manageable size for that device, like where it's a bit of a hassle, but it would sustain the other devices, costs not included, right? Like, is there a device that would be able to where you don't have to expose the other devices to the cold, but you can still keep them juiced when needed, based on some other device that it is relatively small that you can carry, or is
then again, remember those temperatures that we mentioned at the North Pole are supposed to be in the summer. It's supposed to be practically 20, 30, 40 degrees up there during the summer. So if that's the case, the batteries will be fine, and any old device like the one Bob has on the screen now should work just fine.
And solar charging ought to be phenomenal up there during the summer. I remember a few years ago I saw an ad. For this. I forget the name of it, but it was like a backpack with there was actually solar panels on the backpack, and the backpack itself had like USB charging ports on it. So like you could just walk around with the backpack filled with stuff, and during the day it would be charging up, any extra batteries. There's ways to do it, and as long as you're not up there in the winter, it shouldn't get that darn cold, and you should have plenty of sunlight.
Oh yeah, there should be plenty of sunlight, and
we could call NASA too, because NASA operates things on Mars at negative 220 Fahrenheit, no problem. And
yeah, sure they do. Yeah, and I'm Mother Teresa.
And those batteries just keep on going, no problem. Yeah. I now realize the complete goofiness of that whole. I've been out in it, and I've also researched battery technologies, and there's nothing better than lithium phosphate. So, of course, NASA has their super secret classified battery technology that works in every single weather ever. That
their machine
was, and of course, they don't.
James Webb is supposed to be operated at negative 350, so they can get it done.
And of course, you would think that there would be some private applications for these technologies that NASA comes up with, but nope, they're keeping it in space and keeping it secret so that only they can have the negative 200-degree batteries. Right.
Thank God our tax money went there. And the only other question I have is that, do you have a sled, or what are you going to use to carry your balls?
Yeah, I'm pulling a sled. I got the manhole and equipment, skis and snowshoes, and the harness and ropes to go back to my sled. And I'm almost debating on 2 sleds, one for food basically, and one for gear, because my gear sled's getting overloaded. But yeah, the only way to get around up, if the snow melts and it gets too hot, then I'm in trouble, because I'm going to be pulling my sled across dirt. So you kind of need to do it now, but while you still have snow and ice on the ground, so that you can pull a sled over.
Yeah, that would be a problem. Well, I was sitting here looking at these magnetometers, and the $200 one to the $813 one. Really, I don't see a whole lot of difference, other than some of them are ISO calibrated, etc., blah blah blah. But as far as the resolution that you need, the $200 one seems like it would work just fine.
Okay, he's got a free one with him, Bob. I don't know if you know this, but he's got one if he downloads the app on his phone. It'd be interesting to see.
He doesn't have a phone with him, though.
He doesn't have a smartphone with him that has the.
I don't think so. Right?
No more smartphones.
Okay, because they you can download an app, and I was wondering about how sensitive by comparison that would be, but nope, I was wrong. I just assumed because he's talking to us. You assume you make an ass.
Yeah, but looking at this one right here, $203, and we look at the specifications on it, and it looks quite suitable. To be able to take those readings, whether it doesn't need to be certified, ISO certified. This will get you a really good, ballpark figure.
As long as it, details for discussion later, but make sure it has removable batteries so you can stick it in your coat, and that it can charge it on USB-C or USB, because all of the solar, I have a Goal Zero solar kit like he's talking that you can hang on your backpack and all that, and it goes to a little battery, and all those things are run off USB.
Yeah, and the other thing is if you take measurements on your way up there, starting at maybe 60 north, whatever, as you go further and further north, or maybe a little bit further south than that, then if you keep the track of how much of a vector that the magnetometer is reading the North Pole at, versus that would give you a little bit better resolution as to where kind of a triangulation as to where the true North Pole might be.
But I can't. If I was staying in L'Orange, I'd say let's get one ordered up here. And I've also I'll check for one here in Canada, see if anybody in Canada. There's an Amazon Canada and all that. But I'm leaving L'Orange. Supposedly my bivy bag's getting delivered tomorrow. So which means I'll be hitting the road. My next stop would likely be Baker Lake, Nunavut. So that's but that's
Ryan. I would totally go with you, but I just turned 41 the other day, so just missed that cutoff there, buddy.
Oh man. Yeah. No, hey, Roald Amundsen, I think was 41 when he got to the South Pole. Got there like.
And he damn near died down there.
Yeah, that was a rough one. But
yeah, they stationed him down there later on, apparently, and it was almost like he was being penalized for something. That was weird that they would station him down there like that. You did say Bird, right?
Oh, Bird, yeah, they did. And the first guy to the South Pole, Amundsen.
Oh, Amundsen, okay.
The funny thing with Amundsen is that, not fun. I shouldn't say funny. The interesting thing about Amundsen is he disappeared at the North Pole. So he had gone. Somebody took an airship up there and crashed it, I believe. And so he went up on a rescue mission to to try to find him, and then he disappeared. So, did he
disappeared?
disappear or did he go to Hyperborea?
Right. So
I
whenever
don't
you
know.
do that, do we assume that you made it to paradise? Like, how do we go about that? If you disappear, is it mission accomplished?
They made it to Hyperborea and are retired, or or maybe by traveling by land, you might find a remnant of one of the crashed airships, but that's always an interesting one about Amundsen, that he first man to the South Pole, but then he disappeared to the North Pole and was never seen again.
So can we get your word that you'll let us know before you take your victory lap?
Oh yeah, definitely. I also got, my two sons here back down in the States. So before I find the 8th continent or the 9th or whatever it is, and go sit on the beach, I'm certainly got to go take my boys with me, but and come back and upload my video from the SD cards. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
Love it.
So this map that I'm showing right now, Robert Bressano, one of our mods, just sent it, said, tell him he needs to use this map, skyvector.com. He should be venturing at least 50 miles from the weather stations going up. It's emergency refuge if needed. Oh, good idea. So
yeah, that's an excellent idea. I'll check out this one, SkyVector, and I've also on my channel I just posted a video of the maps that I'm using. I obtained them from Canadian sources, topographical maps of the area that I'm at, and I essentially can travel with those in just a compass. But I do have a sextant with me, as well as an artificial horizon. So that's another thing I show on my channel is my sextant readings, and try to get into a little bit of celestial navigation. It's also traveling like this is a great time to study, not only a sextant and the mathematical formulas behind all that, but also paying real close attention to what's in the sky and what the sun's doing and what the moon's doing. And
so I've got an idea. Let's nix NASA, and then we'll take their budget and give it to Ryan, and then we'll all go like on a $1 billion yacht, and then we'll all go to 90 degrees north.
Yeah, as well as Antarctica. We gotta. I mean, originally, before I really started digging into the history and finding out that, beyond the mountains in the north, there dwells a happy race of people called the Hyperboreans. And listen to what it says here. Here are believed to be the hinges on which the firmament I'm horrible with this word. I'm sorry. Here are believed to be the hinges on which the firmament turns and the extreme limits of the revolutions of the stars. So that's where, this is what the old text has to say about Hyperborea. And it says that it is a genial region with a delightful climate and exempt from every harmful blast. The homes of the natives are the woods and the groves. And so, you've got trees growing, the people there, and they say that is the hinge on which the firmament turns. And that is on destination. Oh, he found it. Good work. Just an interesting bit right there. And like I said, originally this was just training for Antarctica. Go to the North Pole, get acclimated to polar expeditions so that we can go to Antarctica. And
and there's this other part of it too, right? So going to 90 degrees north, you could forget GPS, forget even a compass. As long as you're traveling and you're pointed towards Polaris, right? And Polaris keeps getting higher in the sky as you go, you really don't need any sort of GPS. And that's one good thing about it. And actually, I would be interested to see if 90 degrees north geographical is directly underneath Polaris, or if you have to travel, 50 miles or whatever to get to where Polaris is exactly 90 degrees.
And it's a good thing you're a flat earther, Ryan, because you know that a sextant won't work on a ball, right?
If you do I've had people call me out for that and say something like, you're trying to prove a sphere. And I'm like, no. If you do the math for this and you know anything about trigonometry, you'll instantly figure out that the triangle that you use is between you, Greenwich, and the sun.
Yes, it's
and
a right triangle.
when you do the math on that, the sun comes out to be about 3,000 miles high. So I don't know how the 90, I understand how they get their 93 in there, but it's just a bunch of more Big Bang nonsense. And a sextant, if anything, is proving the flatness of the plane versus
Exactly. And I said that in jest, obviously, because it's funny, because you cannot have the problem with the ball is you can't have that third leg of the triangle as an arc. That doesn't work. And that, of course, would be your, the bottom line would be along the top of the globe, right? Which is an arcing line, which is not a straight line, and it does not make a triangle. Therefore, there's no way it could possibly work.
Right, how could you use a navigational compass without a horizontal, right? So
yeah, it's just funny to hear the Globers, and their ridiculous claims, and then ultimately they just dial back what they say and change up their story to something else. But yeah, boy, I'll tell you, this is going to be absolutely amazing. What was the other thing I was going to say?
Oh, before you go too further, can I just show a map and have him look? I jumped on past you. I just wanted to go over some magnetics. I know he's past it, but I'm going to go out of order.
Okay.
And see if I can share screen. And,
you can.
Desktop, start sharing. Do you see a magnetic map?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, what this is Karen B and I were working on things. We're looking at the magnetics and this is just an old stock image, and she did the circumpolate of it. Thank you, Karen B. Genius on it. But if you look at it, we know that we have a magnetic North Pole and a geographic North Pole in that. And I don't know how many people know, but we also have a geographic equator and a magnetic equator. And if you look at, like, I'm going around the magnetic equator, this egg, it turns out to be an egg shape where our geographic is around. This is where you're going to Thule, I believe, is right in here. Now, Thule, where we have the military on Greenland. What's interesting about that is I looked at the auroras all of the time, and the auroras always seem to center around Thule as they're rotating around. So that's an interesting point in here, and that's close to the geographic. But if you look here, this is a magnetic map, and it almost shows it tying a little bow about where you are right now.
Huh.
Do you see this? How it's coming together? It's doing a bow and then going around.
Huh. Yeah, and Thule is at 76 degrees 31 minutes north by 68 minutes 45 west, excuse me. So that's why we were saying there's some interesting things going on, and we have every reason in the world to believe that they're hiding a lot of different things, but we're just trying to get you hooked up with some things to be aware of, and maybe even take some measurements on, because that could be really helpful.
Especially that intersection area where I'm at right now is pretty interesting, and I don't know what to call that tool. I think a magnetometer or something, but something like that could be really interesting to add to my daily field journal. Of course, every day I'm keep track of where I'm at and temperatures and random thought, whatever's in my head. So the adding the magnetic reading to that would be a excellent thing. And I'm wondering what with the sphere Earth model would explain that little magnetic spine area where the two of them are coming together where I'm at right now. But definitely an interesting map there. Thank you for bringing that up. And I wonder what's going on right around there where I'm at.
And it's like, look, it looks like that's about where he was at, and that's why I wanted to jump in. We could go on forever with this, but I'm gonna let you keep on going. And Ryan, I'd like to talk with you more later because you have your rivers and different things you were talking about that I can match up magnetically to, and might help you out when you're pulling it together. Every different way of looking at it, I think is helpful.
Well, like, this deception runs so deep, man. They can trick you with maps. They can trick you with magnetic declination and all those things. But one thing that they really just can't change is Polaris. So that's why I really think it's important to do something like this in the north. Because hell, if you ever get confused in terms of which way you're going, or the maps aren't matching with what you're seeing, just find Polaris, and then there's your bearing, man.
Right. And I'm not sure, but the Inuit say that the one huge thing that they use for navigation is the formation of the snow and the ice based on how the wind has blown to form them, because there's like a prevailing northerly wind, which so they can kind of look at the ground on a cloudy day. Let's say you couldn't see Polaris, and based on how the snow is formed and how the ice is formed, for that specific area, you can kind of figure out where you're at. But so that's one thing that the Inuit, the native folks up here, use. But of course they use the stars, and that is the number one go-to is definitely Polaris. And going to the North Pole. Who was it? Marco Polo. In his books, he wrote about going to basically the Hyperborean islands, and he said that you have to go so that Polaris is a little bit behind you, and then you finally get there. And so keeping my eye on Polaris is definitely going to be key, and the sun, of course. Polaris, I'm not sure, but I assume it's going to disappear with the 24-hour sun if I'm north of 66 degrees. And then the only thing I don't know.
That's right. Crap.
You can't see any stars. You only get the sun at that point. So
that's where the pyramids come from, bro. Because if you're tracking to the center and there's a northern wind, you would always basically perceive the formation of a pyramid, right? Like any snow, let's say, would corrode in the form of a pyramid if you're tracking towards a northern wind.
And the pyramid shape is the only shape that, and I guess maybe the dome nowadays, but historically, Byrd and Amundsen and those guys had to use the pyramid shape for their tents to, because in any other shape they had like drifting problems or things like that.
Now, fun enough, you guys, I have to point in this one. I'm sorry, I have to, because you'll like this too. In nature, the way nature grows crystals, magnetite, which is Earth's natural magnetics, forms in an octahedral crystal, which looks like two pyramids put on top of each other. That's the natural growth of magnetics. I mean, that is the growth. That is the lattice structure is cubic. And just to get your polarization and such on it, but your magnetics are in a cubic structure. Also, things to keep in mind is cold enhances magnetics and lessens electricity, and vice versa. So your two signs of your coin, the electricity and the magnetics, with temperature function, that your cold is going to make your magnetics stronger, so it's going to make your snow form differently in that, and your as it gets heated up, electricity is going to have more impact on it. And so I think your Inuits are being brilliant with probably looking at how the snow is created, the texture of it and that, and picking up, again, some of the magnetics in that.
I'm not sure. I bet most people are familiar with the lost history of the flat Earth and the plasma moon from Vibes of Cosmos. And in relation to that, the Inuit people, I recently posted a video about this, but the Inuit people say that the sun has moved in the sky, because they said they watch that more than anybody, because they rely on it for hunting and everything and for life. And so, the Inuit elders say that the sun has moved its position in the sky, and that when they were younger, it used to be, over here, and now the sun is like way over there. So, that is something that science and Sphere Earth has absolutely no answer for. Obviously, it would be, it would be the same, but interesting when you get up there and do it, and interesting to learn what they have to say, because I'll bet you they know a lot more than the scientists down in their universities.
I bet you they do too.
In Sphere Earth, I would sort of expect the solar system to be far more chaotic than what we have, right? I mean, the fact that it's just so perfectly cyclical with repeating patterns in the cycles, to me, even as a globe earther, that never really set well with me. And really, you would expect, with all the motion involved with the alleged solar system, all the orbital motion and all the different combinations of orbits with the sun and the Earth and stuff. And yet we do have these perfect cycles of time. It's kind of interesting. But something real quick, I know that we were talking about batteries. If you have a battery operated thing and the battery dies, say at normal temperatures, and then you throw those batteries in the freezer for 5 minutes or so, you'll actually get some more juice out of them. So I don't know. That's weird that the cold itself would kill the batteries, but has anyone else known that? Like if your batteries die, you throw them in the freezer for 5 minutes and they'll come back to life for not for very long, but for a little while.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know I've done that trick before. And it's got to be and the temperature that kills batteries though is -20. So the freezer isn't that cold, so I wonder if there's just a certain temperature where the battery, gets a little bit charged up, but
optimal.
Then at -20,
okay, I see.
Everything dies. Nothing. There's no battery technology that can survive lower than -20. So
back in the 1960s, NASA did it perfectly on the first try and publicized it nationally live streamed it.
Yeah,
So based on what you're saying, bro, think about maybe what we perceive as time is nothing more than the sun and Polaris making a tighter and tighter circle towards the center, which would explain their recollection of that, always tracking the sun. And so the center would actually just be based on Polaris, because that's the tightest circle we know. So basically, if the sun is a tight circle, but not near as tight as Polaris, then that actually kind of makes sense, because they told us about the whole black hole thing, but there is some truth to it, because you would reach the concentration of dielectricity in the center of whatever's there. They're saying that it is actually somewhat to be expected that the sun's circle would tighten, and you just keep going to the center of what they're tightening to.
Hey, Bob, I'll try to show a little visual of maybe what might answer that. Can you share my screen for a second there?
Absolutely. Cami, go ahead and kill your screen share. I guess that doesn't matter, but...
Let me walk outside. I didn't realize I was still sharing. Let me go ahead and do that.
For one, there's a cool picture of Hyperborea here. But more than that, I can make a note here on the North Star and the Sun and how their positions may or may not differ. Oh, do I have to share?
You do. Yeah, Cami still hasn't stopped her screen share yet.
I don't show it on my thing, so it's
yes,
hidden
you did.
on me.
Bring up your little Skype button down at the bottom.
Okay.
And then
I can hang up. I don't show that I'm sharing. I'll just hang up.
Okay. Fine, be that way. Okay. Well, that disconnected it. Okay, so yeah, you can go ahead and share anytime you want.
Uh-oh. I probably, let's see. Haven't used Skype in quite a few years. Sorry, guys. But but yeah, the thing is, if, the firmament that covers Earth may be bigger than just covering 7 continents. It may the firmament may, go beyond that, and then the sun, might revolve around that area. So Polaris more or less should stay where it is, where the sun, may drift over time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, Polaris is the tightest circle ever, right? It's like it's basically not, but I don't know. A lot of the ancient texts and observations seem to suggest it might be making like the tightest circle ever, and the sun is further out, so of course it's not near as tight. But yeah, of course, you always take Polaris as the definitive location, right? And I think that's what they've hidden from all of us, bro. So if you take that as your primary guide, you're glitching the matrix. That's what they want to prevent us from even thinking about.
Okay, and we do have your screen share, Ryan.
Is it okay? Is it up there?
Yep, we got it.
So this map's from the Vibes of Cosmos, and a cool map of Hyperborea, of course. And yeah, I wonder if there's any what kind of animals might be up there.
One thing's for sure, there's going to be a hell of a lot more animals up there than there would be at the same latitude in the South Pole.
That's true. But scrolling out, we
to the
get
center of the Earth, right?
We get the 7 continents, and where the sun would revolve around, like this over, who knows, maybe 2,000 years or whatever. But the firmament then would be one firmament that covers all of this. And so Polaris, in my view, probably being a part of the firmament, would more or less always be right here over Hyperborea, whereas the sun could be shifting over this way. And to me, that when the Inuits say that the sun is now over here, to me, what I see in my head is that the sun is on the move over this way, and somewhere in Antarctica we have land starting to thaw that is not on any maps and is more or less completely undiscovered, at least for thousands of years.
How did the Inuits determine that the sun was so far away from where we think it is?
Well, just because they go out and they see it every day. Every day of their life, they have to go out and see where it's at. So if they live near a mountain or something, and they see it up, over throughout the year, they know exactly where the sun is supposed to be. And they can explain it better than me. It's posted on my channel. The Inuit talk about how the sun has moved, and it's something that the scientific community would completely deny and say that those guys are crazy and they don't know what they're talking about.
Yes, of course. And we know that the natives, especially native Indians, Eskimos, all the native peoples up there, are very much in tune with nature and in tune with the sun and the moon, and they watch it very carefully. They're able to predict so many things from watching the sun and the moon and just the earth in general. So yeah, and at this point, I think that so many of us have lost faith in science because it's now scientism. It's really pathetically sad, what they've come up with. And of course, this all started a long time ago, largely with Einstein dismissing the ether. And, they've purposely taken several dramatically wrong turns in scientific progression. They've literally stifled it on purpose because they are trying to stop people from figuring out what the true nature of this world is. And I think we're all very much aware of that, So,
and they put themselves up on a pedestal time and time again. It's a Mason who's the guy who made the great invention and the great mathematical formula that proves the Earth is a sphere and all this. And it's you go to a university nowadays and you look at the people, the young, people in the university who are in bachelor for astronomical physics, for example, right? And they've their heads up in the clouds. They think they know everything about everything. And, you put them face to face with someone like an Inuit elder who really knows the sun, and they would call them stupid. They say they don't know anything. They're confused and they think that they know it all, and it's all based a lot of times, especially with things like astronomical physics. It's all based on fallacy after fallacy, like Big Bang, and then sphere Earth, and then we know this is a fact because it's 479 billion years old, and it just gets really goofy.
My one question, Ryan, is, have you thought about, because I'm guessing that June 20th or whatever, right, is where you would want to technically be at the North Pole, but this way you're not getting into any issues with darkness coming back. So why not just fly as far north as you can and start the trek there?
Well, that's a great question, and probably the most asked question. There's a lot of reasons for mine. I'll do a screen share again real quick.
Okay.
You say, Bob? I hear you.
I said probably because of all the equipment he has to haul.
Well, I would think if you're taking all these steps and then needs to be this certain amount of money donated the whole way, it almost seems like you would be able to pay for all that equipment to be shipped to somewhere north and pay for yourself to get a flight there and be up north with time to spare. Because as of right now, I'm just looking at the timetables. It looks like it's going to be tough for him to get there in June or July, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not planning to get there this year. I'm too late. I would need to have already have been on my way
so
from
far too.
Oh,
that is so far.
Is my screen sharing on this?
I drove a car from Kansas to South Carolina recently, and I think that's like 1,500 miles. Dude, that is fucking far, bro. 2,500 miles. I mean, I'm just saying.
I thought you were trying to get there this year. So what is the timetable that you're looking at then? What are you trying to get done this summer versus next?
This year, I'm trying to spend the summer in the Arctic with the Inuit, so I can learn Inuktitut, which, from my research, is probably one of the closest languages we have to the original Tartarian language, as discussed on my channel. And if we have any Tartaria lovers here, that's a topic we can get into. But let me get into the first one. The first one, which is just plain and simple conditioning. To get to the North Pole, which is right there, you're going to either have to leave from the tip of Greenland or the tip of Wardhunt Island. So from the tip of Greenland, you've got 400 miles, 450 there. And from Wardhunt Island, you've got about the same, right? 465. So you've got to go there and you've got to come back. So you're talking 900 miles. I've never pulled a sled with skis for 900 miles before, let alone in some of the worst weather supposedly on the earth. So if I were to fly up here and then just get out at Wardhunt Island and take off on my skis, I don't think I'm going to make it. I need to get conditioned and get some real man-hauling experience in Arctic temperatures, which thankfully I found up here in Saskatchewan with negative 35, negative 38. And the next trip of my, turn off the grid so we can see a little better, but the next route goes from here up to here, which is about 600 miles. So the point is that I should be able to go take a sled for 600 miles before I try to get to the North Pole, because once I'm taking off for the North Pole, you're kind of beyond the point of pressing an SOS button, and things are going to get pretty dicey up here, especially as you're moving from one piece of floating ice to the next. So for one, I just need to get I need to pull a sled for 600 miles before I go try to do it on sea ice. The second thing is, if we look at this area of the Earth, and I go back to a great map here, the Urbana.
What are you going to do if you run into a polar bear, bro?
I've got 12 bear bangers. I've got 2 cans of bear mace, and I've got a bear whistle. But
I would just bring a vaccine.
I got a, huh?
So just bring a vaccine. Give them a vaccine. They'll pass out.
Oh yeah, that's a. I'll just tell him. I'll tell him I'm not vaccinated and that he needs to social distance. We'll be just fine.
We'll be fine.
So, if we look at the, but I'll be honest with you, when it's negative 35 degrees, the thing that you're scared of is not animals. And of course, it's going to be warmer at the North Pole, and I'll likely see polar bears. So, but anyways, looking up here at the Urbano Monte map, right? We've got Hyperborea up here, and down here, you come across, if you look up here, you'll find Tartaria, and they'll crossed over the Bering Strait, and you find them with some cities, way up here by Alaska, well-established cities, and beyond the cities, they're living in tents. So here you can, if you translate it, it says that here they're staying in tents, and they're Tartars. The Tartarians have crossed over the Bering Strait into Canada, and they've established cities like the city of Hyperborea, which is one of the lost 7 cities of gold. If you look those up, they're supposed to be down in South America or something like that. But one of these cities, of course, is Hyperborea right here, and we can find Hyperborea on a map. There it is. So is this city built out of gold? I don't know. It could be. But going to the northeast, to the area where I'm at right now, basically, up around here, you'll notice all through this area of Canada, there's cities all over the place. And so as I'm traveling, I don't want to miss out on all of that potential, maybe archaeological evidence or Star Force.
You're going to go right through the air defense. What is the whole, like the U.S. and Russia Cold War, like they set up all those alleged anti-nuke ICBM sites? Well, as a flat earther, I've come to terms with the fact that nukes are just more propaganda and for all intents and purposes don't exist. So, but we did spend millions and millions of dollars in some sort of defense technology up in that, the far northern areas. What do you think you're going to run into up there in terms of that end of it?
I mean, I don't know. So a lot of that stuff is supposed to be in Greenland. I know there's military bases under the ice, and they supposedly have some nuclear bombs down there that they lost, and then the ice moved, so they lost where the base was at. Now they don't know where the nuclear missiles are, and I think most of that is in Greenland. I think most of that stuff is over in Greenland, and really in Nunavut in the 1970s, Nunavut was given back to the Inuit people, and they really own it now. It's their land. It's not it's a part of, it's inside of Canada, I guess, but they have their own government, and they have their own. It's even the word itself, Nunavut, means our land in the Inuktitut language, and so there shouldn't be too much of that stuff in Nunavut, but they're not, you never know. Obviously, Devon Island is a part of Nunavut, so and you've got the Mars project there, so who knows what I'll find. But that's the exciting part of going up there and checking, because
that's true, because you're bound to come across the project, the people in the project with a little, I don't know if they're still filming up there or not, but I would imagine they are, right? Because they've got to,
I would imagine so, and they
from somewhere.
They still got to drive their little drone around and take their pictures and all, and all this, and make sure they don't get fossils in the photograph, and or any little rodents or anything like that.
The fact it's in the hands of the creator is a huge advantage, bro.
Yeah, I think that it's nonsense to ignore the spirit world, and there's obviously a world that our two eyeballs can't see, and that's where real battles are fought. The silly little wars that the Masons are trying to orchestrate and all this, is nothing. The real battles happen by equipping the full armor of God and going to battle in the spirit realm. And that's, if Hyperborea is in the physical realm. You know, let me do a quick, well, if you go to Germany, you've got the Thule Society, right? And this Thule Society, they were trying to find Hyperborea more or less. And a lot of those texts more or less hint that they started to believe that Hyperborea was maybe, you know, on the astral plane or a part of the spirit realm. So anyways, if Hyperborea is out there and it's a real physical island, I don't know why God would want that to be hidden from us. And if it's you know, the destroyer, if it's Satan's work to hide that and to deceive the world, then maybe God would allow the truth to come to light. You know, it's hard to say.
The glory of Yah to conceal a matter, and the honor of kings to seek it out, bro. So yeah, bless, bro. That's how I see it. I think that knowing it is important, but you've vocalized that you do know it, and then from that point, I can only speak limited. Of course, nothing like what you're doing, but it changes the entire outlook drastically. It changes everything that happens as well. So I think, yeah, bro, like as long as you're in that vibration, you know, then like you're good, bro. Obviously, you'll have the people coming around talking about, yo, man, how many guns does he have? He should be scared. Oh, man, are you sure he can do this? But like, they wouldn't do it, and you're doing it.
I'm not.
The creators got you, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I feel the same way, and I don't have fear. When I see people write comments like "you're going to get eaten by a bear," I just, whatever. You know, if I'm doing what God wants me to do, I'm fine. Yep. If I'm not doing what God wants me to do, then I might as well be eaten by a bear. So it doesn't.
Well, you know, that
matter.
faith that you have, man, I think that'll go a long way to keep you protected. I firmly believe that, man, that the Most High will protect you. But you know, your faith has to be there, and you have to be, you know, walking the path, man.
Yep. And you know, I
Absolutely.
agree with that too, because if you're focusing on that, that's obviously what you're going to draw towards you. And you know, and that's what you need to focus, not that happening, but an alternate. You know, you need to focus what you want to happen and manifest that. But, you know, honestly, you know, just to be straight up honest, I personally would feel better if I could take my 44 Desert Eagle, 44 Magnum Desert Eagle, or a shotgun with some 3-inch nitro loads against those bears, you know, because anything else, it's just going to piss the bear
definitely
off.
And maybe in Nunavut, you know, I want to learn hunting, trapping, fishing, and you know, so there's a chance that in Nunavut I would you know, use a long rod, and but you know, that probably wouldn't come till later, and I definitely want to learn the ways of the Inuit. Is my screen sharing right now?
Yes, it is. Let me switch over to you.
Dude, that's ideal, bro.
Since
like,
we're on
days of the people closer to it, you know, like they'll let you know what you need to know to survive.
Yeah, and if anyone's going to help me and know how to survive in those conditions, and as well as travel with their dogs, it's the Inuit. They mostly use snowmobiles now. But while we're on the topic, I will bring this up because it's a topic that I've found fascinating, and it's also left open-ended. I don't know what the significance of it is, so by presenting it to the community here, maybe someone can provide some insight. Sorry, I can't see it. My screen is sharing. Okay. So I just want to run through this quick blog post on my website. It's if you go to blog, you can find it there. But it's about the Inuit, the Thule, which of course ties into Germany, the Thule Society, and the Tartarians. So first of all, this shows that Arzareth is an area beyond the Euphrates River, where the 10 tribes of Israel were sent after their exile from the kingdom of Israel around 700 BC. And this is from the Bible, the book of 4 Esdras. And it says that that God had worked some miracles for him, and he held back the source of a river so that they could pass over. Very similar to how Moses was led out with the parting of the Red Sea so that they could proceed to dry land. And it was a year and a half, and they went into an area called Arsaf, which Arsaf is correctly called Arzareth. So, and I will now look at a map here for the historical maps. Arzareth is located in the northeastern area of Grand Tartary near the Bering Strait. It's right here. You can study all the maps, and time again, you get the Bering Strait with America and Alaska over here, and across the Bering Strait is where Arzareth is. So this is where the 10 tribes were sent to. And if we study the history books, we're going to find that the Tartarians are the lost 10 tribes of Israel. The Tartars, about year 1228, under the command of Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, overspread the earth like a flood. And this ties in with star forts and all that because, the Tartars overspread the earth like a flood, and we get star forts with the one style of architecture all over the earth. But it says that they're successors of the 10 tribes of Israel. They were carried into captivity. So more explanation on how the name itself, Tartaria, basically means remnants or the remainders in the Hebrew tongue. But historical text, I won't read them all one after the next. If you're interested, shows that when they left, they went in the direction of Tartaria, the tribes here. These are names of the lost 10 tribes, Simon, Ephraim, and Manasseh, went into the country of the Chozar Tartars. And here's the, hands down best evidence that I think I've found. Rabbi Eldad, called the Danite, belonged to the tribe of Dan, one of the lost 10 tribes. He undertook a pilgrimage to find his brethren, the lost tribes, for the purpose of visiting and preaching to them. And in a letter addressed to the Jews of Spain, bearing the date of 1283, published in Paris 1563, declares that he discovered the remnant of Israel in the regions of Tartary. So one historical text after the next shows us that the Tartarians are the lost 10 tribes of Israel. So moving forward from that, and I'm wrap this up here. But you get Genghis Khan, which to me has been, at first I thought he was just kind of a bad guy who killed a lot of people. But then you study the text about Tartary, and he overspread the earth like a flood. And here in the year of our Lord 1162, Genghis Khan, they called him, went out and started conquering all these countries. Genghis 1162, 1228, under the command of Genghis Khan. And here's an interesting text. I was reading about the Tartarians, right? And it says that here's talking about Genghis Khan. It says a man armed in all white armor and mounted on a white horse showed up to Genghis Khan and said unto him, Genghis, it is the will and pleasure of the immortal God that you should be Lord and rule over the nations of the Morgell, which they call the Tartarians. And so, Genghis told the rulers, they didn't believe him. So the rulers the following night had the same vision of a horseman armed in white. And he said that Genghis is going to be the king of the 7 nations of the Tartarians. And so that's Genghis Khan. And I said, well, that sounds like the white horse, the rider on the white horse. So
God, that's crazy. God, what a
so
crossover.
then you get here the nations of the, so I kept studying, and we get the nations of the Tartars are subject to the great Cham, and they fight on horseback. Their weapons are the bow and arrow. And I said, okay, that's interesting. Their main weapon is the bow and arrow. Our Tartars are very ready and excellent archers on horseback, being indeed so skillful in the art of shooting. They commonly pierce all kinds of armor. And here's another one. It says the Tartars, talking about Genghis Khan, they call him the shadow of spirits or the Holy Ghost and the son of the immortal God. They say that Genghis Khan is the son of God. The chief of the 7 tribes, clothed in white, caused the prince to sit upon a black woolen cloth, and willing him to behold the sun, they fear him as the immortal God, and then they set a crown upon his head. And so if you look in Revelation 6:1 in the opening of the first seal, it says the Lamb opened the seal, and I heard the voice of like a thunder, and I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. I mean, Genghis Khan he had the vision of the white horse.
Wow. A little different story.
They have the bow. They put a crown on his head. And what did Genghis Khan do other than go out conquering and to conquer? So I'm, until I see something else, I can't correspond anything other than the opening of the first hill is related to the Tartarians, specifically the Tartarian Genghis Khan. So was Genghis Khan a Christian? And here's a map of Christianity.
That's so interesting because see, like I totally view Revelation as a positive thing, right? So it's unveiling of some lie that's being exposed, right? Or the revelation of some ancient truth that's been hidden. And, I'm open to this sort of thing. But I also believe that the revelation has been going on for a long time, right? So like the sort of the biblical application of this, right? It's been going on for long before we were born. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, the church overall is mostly looking for revelation to still happen, and so then I question, has it already happened, or are we almost towards the end of it, or maybe it's all history? But the Genghis calling himself the son of God, that made me say, well, was the guy a Christian? Because if he's a Christian, he shouldn't be calling himself the son of God. And then but here's a map of Christianity. And if you study this map, the links to all these are here for the sources. If you guys could go study the sources yourself. But here up in Tinduk, which is Arzareth, which is where the lost 10 tribes went to, is the only area where it has many Christians. And if you look on the spread of Christianity, it looks like Christianity is spreading from Arzareth out into the rest of the world. And the Mongols, in line with Genghis Khan's leaving this area, here's the Mongols were located in this very region of Tinduk. This is Arzareth again. Here's the Bering Strait, America. So this is Arzareth, and you can see Tinduk right here. And who's right here other than the Mongols? So Genghis Khan came out of, Arzareth. There's nothing to conclude other than he was a Tartarian who came from the lost 10 tribes of Israel. Here we have Tinduk, and it says here, a kingdom in which Christians ruled in the year 1290. So when did Genghis Khan leave out here? Well, he left in 1200. So why are they saying this area is ruled by Christians in the year 1290, other than Genghis Khan's conquest was a Christian conquest?
And really, was it 1290 or was it I-200, right?
Exactly. That's another big question. Here's more translation from that map. And it says up here that once the holy books got lost, I've never heard about that. I've never heard about the holy books getting lost, but that's what it says right here. And then just south of there, what do we have other than Tangut, where it says here they mastered the art of printing 1,000 years ago. That would have been 600 AD. I never heard about the Tartarians inventing the printing press in the year 600 AD, but that's what history tells us. Over here at Argon, formerly a Christian kingdom under Prester John of Asia, it was established by Saint Thomas the Apostle. That's Doubting Thomas from
Doubting
the Bible.
Thomas, yeah.
So Doubting Thomas from the Bible is up here establishing a country called Argon. So here we go. In Tinduk, governed by Prester John, chiefly inhabited by Christians. Tinduk belonging to Prester John. So, and by the way, this Prester John, let's just remember that the Revelation is written to the 7 churches of Asia. Now, we can just rename that right now and say a letter written to the 7 churches of Tartaria. And that letter was written by one and only John. And nobody knows who that John is. So was it written by this guy? I don't know. It seems to me a pretty good chance that John of Revelation might be related to this fella. But going forth, here's what Genghis Khan has to say. I myself, being the emperor and lord of the Tartarians, will be baptized in the faith which the Christians hold to this day. There will be perpetual peace between the Tartarians and the Christians, for the reverence we bear for our Lord Jesus Christ, freeing the city of Jerusalem freeing the city of Jerusalem and all of the Holy Land out of the hands of the pagans and restoring it to the Christians. So that's what the Tartarians were doing. They were on a Christian conquest for God. And here we go, Genghis.
Of course, real quick, in the sort of modern worldview, right? So Genghis Khan is sort of bastardized, right? Or he's synonymous with barbaric, sort of a terrorist of olden times, right? But of course, isn't that exactly what the system would do? Is sort of blackball this guy and character assassinate
Flip it
him
upside down.
Yeah.
Character assassinate. You nailed it, man. And that's what. And then now I study Genghis Khan, and I'm like, wait a second, this guy was on a Christian conquest, and not only that, it was a Tartarian conquest too. 1162 in the year 1212. Listen to this one. It says here, Innocent, which is the Pope, right? Innocent the Pope. The fourth Pope, I think, Innocent IV, amazed with the invasions of the Tartarians. In the year 1242, sent certain friars to the orders of Dominic and Francis to the court of the great Khan, Genghis Khan, to entreat a peace for Christianity. So, why is the Pope sending out to Genghis Khan trying to make a peace for Christianity other than Genghis Khan and his entire nation is a Christian kingdom? And the Grand Khan commanded that all the Christians attend to and bring to them their book, which contains the four Gospels of the evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And after this, causing it to be repeatedly perfumed with incense and in a ceremonious manner, and devoutly kissed it, and directed that the same should be done for all of his nobles who were present in the celestial Jerusalem. This is in reference to the map when it says that once the holy books got lost. By the way, I've never read anything about the Bible getting lost at some point in history. But listen here, in the celestial Jerusalem, which is written by Emanuel Swedenborg, the word formerly communicated by God to Moses is found. This word is Jehovah, lost on earth, but which he invites us to find in Great Tartary, a country still governed, even in our days, by kings, by which he allegorically means to say that this people of Great Tartary most nearly approach the primitive condition of the perfection of innocence. But he says that the word is Jehovah, lost on earth, and invites us to find it in Great Tartary. And that's just what the map says. It says that there was some kind of a lost word that was found. A little bit more on that here. It says there were ancient churches in the Tartarian world. And after that, they had a word which was afterwards lost. And it is still reserved there among the people who dwell in Great Tartary. And the ancient word is still among them. Seek for it in China, and perhaps you will find it there among the Tartars.
Yeah.
So from the 12 tribes. Go ahead.
I was saying, Jehovah.
Yeah.
Thank
you. I'm saying it completely wrong. I mispronounce way too many words.
I'm not even saying right. I'm not even saying I'm saying right, but there is a little secret word that people keep, like let's say Talmud keepers, and they'll whisper it to the next person in a creek, and it's Jehovah. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and also Ryan,
and it might even be a text because, like they say, the word, what I forget the exact description of John, but the word was with God. They basically refer to the Bible as the word, right? So when it says word, it might be a single word, but it might also be like the word of God, and how we call that the Bible.
Yeah,
right.
Do you think that in a way, the Indian tribes, do you think that they, when you hopefully catch up with some of their, people, as you're going across on this trek, do you think that they are going to have be able to elaborate a lot more on this information?
I believe so, yes. And I have, because of my work in the Inuit and the stuff I'm going through right now, I've actually been contacted by one Inuit man who basically has confirmed everything that I've hypothesized, and he says that I'm spot on, and that there's an awakening coming for the Inuit, and that even though they still need to embrace Christianity and Jesus Christ, they also need to bring back their traditional shaman. So there's but that also ties into this where we were talking about the lost 10 tribes of Israel. So of all 12 of them, 2 of those tribes, Judah and Benjamin, united into a single tribe and called themselves this, and they declared that Jesus Christ was a false prophet. Jews, of course, don't believe in Jesus. The other 10 tribes went northwest into Tartaria, and they became Christians. The Tartarians accepted Jesus Christ and became a Christian nation who fought to restore Jerusalem to the Christians. And now finally, let's inspect the actual meaning of the word Khan and Khan, which I don't know how to pronounce differently, so I apologize.
Khan or Chon,
But,
like Genghis, yeah.
yes, there's two other ones.
Khan.
There are two forms. You get the K-A-A-N, so, and the later word implying in our language, Lord of Lords. So K-A-A-N is the title which Genghis directed him and his sons and successors to use, and it is explained in our dictionaries and by our text, by our terms, Khan of Khans or Lord of Lords. So K-A-A-N means Khan of Khans, King of Kings or Lord of Lords. Now, I wonder where I've read that. It wasn't Revelations, was it? So Khan means king or lord, and Khan, K-A-A-N, means King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Now, if you remember
I
that
thought you were going to say Game of Thrones.
Genghis was a K-A-A-N. He was the king over all 7 nations of the Tartarians. So according to, and I'm going off the spelling from Marco Polo, which is Jengis, but as the ruler of all 7 Tartarian nations, or the Great Khan, Genghis correctly should have been called Genghis Khan. So, and I just thought it was interesting that that's almost the exact thing sounding phonetically of Jesus. He's called Genghis, King of Genghis Khan, which this K-A-N is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So they call him Genghis, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I mean, it sounds like the guy's. It's at least phonetically almost a very close match to Jesus. And in Revelations 19:6, I'm not saying that Genghis Khan is Jesus. I'm perplexed by this information, and I'm just presenting it because I'm just as lost as everybody else, and maybe somebody can help me tie up the loose ends here. So Revelations 19:16, on his robe and on his thigh he had the name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. In other words, Khan. So here's Jesus, King of Kings. He was born in Nazareth, and they call him the Son of God and the Holy Ghost. His body location is not existent. Jesus ascended from the grave. Here's Genghis, the King of Kings, and he was born in Nazareth. He was called the Son of God, the Shadow of Spirits. His body location, again, is non-existent. Genghis Khan's tomb nor body have ever been found. So interesting that the archaeology, speaking of the eye and the 1,000-year manipulation, it's interesting that the archaeological evidence from Jesus' tomb has been dated to be no older than 1,000 years old, dating to a time period closer to Genghis Khan's death. The earliest archaeological evidence found in and around Jesus' tomb complex dated to the Crusader period, making it no older than 1,000 years old. Here is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Jesus' tomb, no more than 1,000 years old. So is the tomb of Jesus actually the tomb of Genghis? Is there a connection between Jesus and Genghis?
Good question.
Was Genghis the second coming of Christ? Because Jesus said he was coming back, and that was going to be tied in with Revelation. So was Genghis perhaps Jesus the second coming of Christ, and why that aligns so perfectly with the opening of the first seal into Revelation? And I'll be honest, guys, I don't know the answer to these questions. But it is what it is. And the rest of the blog post I'm not going to go through, but it's talking about the Thule migrations. And this is very specific to the Inuit people, because this is where the Inuit people came from. They came from the Thule migrations, which came, guess where from? Arzareth. And they've done DNA on the Inuit sampling, and they've established that the Inuit, based on that, and who knows how accurate that is, but they're saying that the Inuit basically come from these locations, which makes the Inuit, you can basically say they're from the lost 10 tribes of Israel. The Thule people around 1200 AD reached over to Greenland. And by the way, this 1200 AD again ties in with the time when Genghis Khan left and spread out on his Christian conquest. So you can see they left from Arzareth and went through Alaska, where I'm at right now. Oh, a little south from there, but over towards Greenland.
Boy,
so they came from this area.
Zeitgeist sure didn't catch that connection, did they?
No, they didn't. And then last but not least, hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, and hast thou seen the treasures of the hell, which I have reserved for a time of trouble, for a day of battle and war. Job 38:22. So God is telling us that he saved something in the snow for a day of battle and a day of war.
Interesting. And this is in the north, supposedly, somewhere. Or do we even have
It could
any
be the
idea?
north, it could be the south. It's hard to say, but
Did you by
it
any
seems
chance,
though, and
did you by any chance catch last week's show at all?
I did not. I was on
Okay.
the I didn't get to make it.
Okay, no problem. I had come across some video footage that was purported to be, there was two places there. It was purported to be this downward vortex spiral taken from the North Pole, and on the same clip, they then jump to the South Pole and they show pyramids down there. Now, I've heard several reports of pyramids in the South Pole, and I'm just wondering if maybe whatever they're talking about here is locked up in one of those pyramids.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Yes.
And it seemed, based on Job 38:22, it says, "I've reserved it for a time of trouble, for the day of battle and war." And and so that makes me say, well, it sounds like it's a resource that's used in battle. And are we talking about a physical battle, or are we talking about battle in the spirit realm? So, and also on that note, it says that it's reserved for a time of trouble, for the day of war. In those times, really, nowadays I imagine an aircraft carrier and an F-16 and a tank. A tank's going to come out of the snow. He saved it for a day of trouble and time of war. But in the Bible times, an army was a bunch of people. So when it says that, have you entered into the treasure of the snow, and have you seen the treasures of the hell that I've reserved for a time of trouble, for the day of war? And maybe I'm completely off, but I look at the Inuit people. They haven't, at least reproductively, mixed like the rest of the world. They kind of stay up in their own little bubble, and don't. And from my research, they are genetically from the lost 10 tribes of Israel. They're descendants of the patriarch Jacob, and because they haven't mixed as much as these other countries, they may be the most pure bloodline to the patriarch Jacob. So when I don't know what resources that he's reserved for the time of trouble and for the day of war, but in the Bible times that would have been a group of people, and it's possible that the treasures of the snow, the treasures of the hell, could be a reference to the Tartarian bloodline, the bloodline of the lost 10 tribes of Israel, or maybe it's something inside of a pyramid, like you're saying. It's and my dad, he thinks that this verse is talking about Greenland. He thinks when Greenland's going to melt and something's going to be there that's
that's
saved
another
for a time.
possibility too. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that have yet to happen, and the thing that
maybe it's something inside of us that's awakening.
That's a possibility, right? As well. And I think that is happening to some degree. I wish it was happening a lot faster, but there is definitely an awareness, a waking up of people. And that's mostly because of the utter clown show the world is in right now. People are looking in this world and they're going, look, this is crazy. It's just straight up insane. You would have to be deaf, dumb, and blind to not see that there's something terribly, terribly wrong going on in the world right now, right? And as a result of this, so many people are, stepping forward, and they're now more interested in these types of subjects. Well, what really did go on with, with the stuff you're studying, and maybe flat earth is true, and what about the Tartarian Empire, all of the stuff that has literally been hidden from us, and we are finding every single day, we're finding out something new about this place that we live in, and everything we've been told about it is just a lie. It's incredible.
Dude, I gotta say this, man. So some people might get triggered or whatever, but so back in the day, I thought, and I still think, that religion is super dumb. And since I was raised as a Christian, I was like, basically this book, I threw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, it can kick rocks, because every time I ask people questions about it, like as early as the 6th chapter, they don't actually know any of the answers to it. Right. So now fast forwarding, what's so crazy, bro? I had this crazy experience in my adult life where I just realized the creator is real. It's like a personable energy, and accountability is maximized. And it's about how real you keep it with that. And so I tried to do that, but my mind kept on saying that we were approaching the end. And so the way I've been raised, or maybe you could say brainwashed my whole life, was that we're approaching Revelation. It's the end. So I was like, this is annoying, and it wouldn't go away. And then I went and prayed. It was like a thought in my head that I could hear, but it wasn't in my control. It wouldn't go away. It was like annoying in a way. So eventually I went to the back of my house in my room, and I prayed and said, I said, dear Lord, which I wouldn't say now, I feel like you're telling me we're in the end, and you want to use me to show people that. If that's the case, please give me an undeniable sign, and then pray the Messiah's name, amen. So anyway, fast forward, crazy next day, all kinds of random stuff, Christian rappers playing on my Pandora, and I'm all of a sudden detailing my next appointment at a church, which never has ever happened, and I've detailed her like 50 times, random stuff. Then I go home, take a shower, see the Bible, and I decide to read it, and so I grab it off because someone had gifted it to me. It's just been sitting there. I decided to read it. I open it up straight to Ezekiel 38. It's about an end-time war. And so you were just bringing up the war. Is the war physical or not? I think the war is physical, bro. And I was asking for confirmation that we were approaching to the climax of something, because that was what wouldn't go away in my head. And I was shown that. And if you look at modern interpretation of the Bible, like, they just make up all these stories about what Ezekiel 38 is, and they make up stories about, because he hooks them and brings them in based on their greed for wealth. He brings them in from the north, and they're like, oh, it's Russia and all this stuff. And I think that maybe we could be, and I know people will get triggered, but I just got to say, like, we may be in that millennial area where at the end, Satan, opposition, actually brings the forces against and are intercepted. And it goes in vivid detail about how they're intercepted and decimated. So it's interesting because that's what he showed me. And then since then, my life has just gotten much crazier regarding the creator will enter you. Is like you can talk to him like he's a person. So just to throw that in there, because I felt like I needed to because of what you were saying earlier. It's really kind of tripping me out because, yeah, it does look like maybe there's war. They, via religious indoctrination and dogma, removed the true understanding of what that prophecy of the war that's coming is. And there may be more to it, so there. It's my take.
Yeah, and that's all we can do is study the Bible more and try to study history to see if there's any correlations there. And because I think at least in most churches, or that environment anyways, they're always looking forward to events to see if it might match something in Revelation or something in Daniel, or and I think it's fair game to say, well, we might need to look backwards as well. So,
you've read the book of Enoch. You've read the book of Enoch, like right after I had that moment. I actually went to the park. It's so crazy that you just said that, bro. Like, I went to the park because basically I felt like I should rein in some fleshly desires I had that I would consider petty, like drinking and turning up and talking to different females. And I got to where I was like, oh, it's as harder than I thought it would be to stop these things. Like 3 days in, I prayed, went to the park, and I opened it up to Daniel, bro. The fact you just said Daniel is not a coincidence. And then I was showed Enoch, and the correlation with Enoch and Daniel. So it's really crazy that you're saying that. It's not a coincidence. In Daniel, it says basically seal the book up until the end, and in that time, people will come to and fro, and knowledge will increase. And the creator was showing me these things, and now I finally get to have this conversation with you where you're putting puzzle pieces together, because that's what started my journey, bro. So I would just say I think we're on to something, and this is what the Creator
Well,
wants. He wants us to know truth. He wants us to search truth. He wants to provide the truth once we attain it.
and you know, for me, one of the most liberating parts of being a flat earther is, you know, the buck stops with me. I don't have beliefs anymore. You know, I have understandings, and the things that I believe to be true, I've arrived at on my own conclusions. I'm not afraid to question things. Whereas, you know, historically, as a Christian, if we ran into contradictions in the Bible, we would sort of, you know, just gloss over it and like, I don't know, for example, look at the Old Testament, look at Deuteronomy, very violent, you know, books just going and murdering entire villages of people really for no reason. And then look at the New Testament, you know, as turn the other cheek. Christ was completely against violence. These are two absolutely different philosophies, and yet they're put together as one book presented to us as a single philosophy but there's definitely contradictions there. And so the point that I'm getting at is applying that sort of same discernment and applying the same sort of metric to the Bible as we do to the earth. I've found a new interest in the Bible. And I was a lot like you, where I threw the baby out with the bathwater for multiple reasons. But now, you know, in these last few years, I've been looking at the Bible with a lot more scrutiny than I ever did, and I've found just all sorts of really interesting things that have really helped my faith, and not just necessarily what's on the pages, but really reading between the lines.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, John, that you say that. You and Austin and a lot of people are, and Ryan and a lot of people are finding these new connections through Scripture and through, you know, Scripture passed down through other societies and philosophies and things like that. And you know, I have to say that, you know, I'm not a religious person. I've definitely read the Bible and several other, you know, versions of Scripture. And you know me, I'm always looking at all different, you know, philosophies and different lines of thought. But the same type of thing is happening to those of us who are not necessarily religious or looking at it from a religious paradigm. We are still being guided to make some of these most interesting connections that are compelling us to, you know, to move forward in our investigations even more so. And that's what's you know, I find so amazing about this, that everybody in the world, I mean, everybody seems to be on the same page. No matter what page they're on, they're progressing, right? And I think that's amazing, whether it's religious or non-religious or whatever. It's just happening.
Oh yeah, man, and the designer like wants you to enjoy that.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I said, you know, that's why I've never said, you know, I obviously have some disagreements with the Bible and religion in general. But I would never, I don't really speak out against that, because like I said, the truth ultimately is what you find in your heart. And you're really the only person that is qualified to interpret that, right? And that's why I think it's important that we listen to each other more so than trying to debate everything, right? Because there are so many viewpoints that could be brought out there, and not in a debate forum, but in a more like a casual type of conversation forum. And I think we'll all find that we have so much more in common, you know, in our studies and what we've been awakened to. And I just think, you know, we just got to take the controversy, get the battle out of it. You know, inviting this battling or, you know, debate or anything like that only sets the entire mindset for that, and it sets the entire everything for that. You know, and I could make and I hate mentioning this, but you know, a good example of this is like, you know, the guys over at Flat Earth Debate. You know, they do some great work, but unfortunately, you know, in my opinion, they have become so tainted by the ballers that they debate. They've literally turned into them, and it sometimes it gets that ugly. And that's what debate ultimately, I think, brings you. And, you know, I'm not trying to hash on them. I'm just saying that I think this is what's happening. And we need to engage in conversation and sharing information more in conversational forms than in debate forms. But that's just me, you know.
Well, if
But
you
yeah, and I
enter
agree.
into a discussion with the globetards, I mean, they usually do tend to try to take it there, where it turns into more of a fight, and it's hard not to, because passions are high, and people get involved in the discussion or the argument, and it's hard to not take it there sometimes, especially when they can be pretty nasty. But yeah, I agree, Bob.
I think this dude is like way
Sorry,
over the
man.
mark, bro. But you're way over the mark, my man, because the big secret, and I've been doing my channel and looking through a bunch of stuff trying to find it. There's like a hidden people. The hidden people are the ones that had this, what we would call advanced knowledge, but they're actually very rudimentary understandings of how the world works. But we would call them advanced knowledge, and the mainstream propaganda would call it like alien technology. But really, it's very basic, elementary understandings of how everything works. And there was a group of people that knew that. And when they would go around and they had that knowledge, they would basically throw them up to the noble class. They would be like, well, teach us more. And these people spread out, and they've been isolated and attacked, and they come under all different forms that we could perceive now. It's been so long, and they lied about all of history, where they found them, what they built, what was there, what they took, what they stole, what they claimed as their own, all of it. So we didn't understand, and it's not really about the people as much as there was a set of understanding or knowledge about how everything works, and those people knew it. And although it was being attacked and corroded, those people still held it. And the knowledge itself that they held is the very valuable thing that they've kept from us. And so, going closer towards the origin of that information and talking to the people that have lived it and actually experienced it is definitely the step forward. And you keep going, talking to them, and dude, I would say you'd probably be amazed what you'll find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yep. So, okay. So, let's see. Oh, you're not sharing anything anymore. Let me switch back over to my screen share, which I just had. I had Google Earth Pro up here.
So my question is, when it comes to Tartaria, which I'm starting to get into more and more, because I think it's tough when you talk about history, because history is simply a story, and I think even if we took over the world tomorrow, we'd have a hard time piecing back together history, because again, any document we find or something could be faked as well. So, but I don't really get how you can believe in Tartaria, which means that our entire history has been changed, and not think that the Bible has also been changed. So I'm just wondering, where's the rationalization for the Bible is a historical document from thousands of years.
The Bible's been changed.
I would say
it's
a million times.
Definitely
they've taken out
changed.
Enoch, they've taken out 4 Esdras, they've taken out the Gospel of Thomas, they've taken out the Gospel
I would say
of Ruth.
Right?
The ones that are very
I would venture to say
won't admit that some of the books, Jeran, the ones that are very religious and won't admit that some of the books have been removed, those are not our
Yeah, I'm not just talking about books removed. What about text removed, text changes, things like that?
The problem with that is you find you get archaeological finds all over the earth, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls, with complete copies of the Bible, and they're in languages that we can read, and the various copies that we find all over the world say the same thing. So it's, I mean,
I would say
it's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to say.
I would say that Christ's most important teachings have never been read or heard by most Christians. That's how much
true.
it's
I agree
been
with
changed.
that.
I think so too.
I agree with that completely. And
I actually think that Jesus came and said that the God of the Old Testament wasn't the right God. I actually think that's why he said no man has seen God's face or heard his voice. I think that's why he says the kingdom of God
He went so far as to call the Hebrews the synagogue of Satan. I mean,
right, but Jeran, I think the whole thing actually is that they removed it out of the context to show you the severity that could even begin to wrap your mind around such a judgment, which seems extreme. And I don't even know. I have no idea. I know actually the Creator doesn't expect you to just know everything, man. He just wants you to be real about it. He wants you to talk to him like you know that he knows you're being real about it, because he already knows everything and some, and that's actually the important part. But I do think that we got to such a crazy sunken state of depravity in the past that it would blow our mind, and sufficient judgment of that behavior would also blow our mind. And I'm kind of there with that, and I think they added
we're being punished for things in the past.
Say again?
Are you saying we're being punished for things of the past? I'm confused what you mean by the judgment.
No, I think that the people in the past were punished for things in the past, and their punishment was very extreme. And to even wrap our mind around the punishment's insane, much less what actually demanded that punishment. So I think that we're living behind it, where they've added a mysterious fake 1,000 years, and then we don't even understand what was going on. I'm just saying, I do know that if you really think about it, and I don't even suggest it, you can perceive like crazy dark levels of sunken depravity that humans can go. And if it was the norm and it spread everywhere and it became the norm to be that evil, like, what would you do? So if you were to preserve what was created, what would you do? You don't have any options. And that actually explains the idea of grievance with the creator looking at his creation, because it's like, whoa, it's like, should I even have made this? And so I think that, there was crazy punishment hashed out. I think the Old Testament and New Testament alike have been messed with, manipulated. They 100% have. You even look at the beginning of the New Testament, quote unquote, the Gospels, the Hebrew versions are missing, but you can start to find remnants of them in the Vatican junk drawer. So they have been hidden. And the creator is trying to wake people up and show them, like, the people that want the truth and they start gravitating towards it, that's all that matters. And there is no perfect book that we have any access to right now. And if there is a perfect book, it's nowhere close to the Western world.
And the dogma of the Bible or all of this is something that I'm not as interested in. I'm more fascinated with
you guys wrong. I thought
the history aspect of it, and going through the Bible, you can see that there's certain historical events that happened, and you can align that up with archaeological events. Or, for example, I was reading Marco Polo, and Marco Polo was talking about,
but that doesn't, it divine. It doesn't make it holy at all, right? So I could write a history book, and my book can connect with different parts of history. And then if I just say that it's God who wrote it, doesn't mean anything. I wrote the book and I connected it with history. Doesn't mean that God wrote it just because it actually matches some historical. Okay, great. Then it's a history book. But it doesn't mean God wrote it or had anything to do with it.
That's correct. And just the true recollection of history is truth, which is what basically the summation of a creator would be. And so he just helps you sift through it. And you're right, dude. The book they gave us is a deception that was very meticulously crafted. If anyone thinks differently, they're being naive, they're being dishonest. And that's the kind of religious people we run into that will ignore Enoch or ignore the books removed. Because
the eternal,
and it's very powerful.
The eternal truth of the Most High is written in our hearts. Absolutely. And it transcends any sort of pages that can be penned by men.
I agree. So
well said, John.
All Jesus taught you how to do was how to activate the pineal gland so that you can communicate with God, how Jacob did when he's seen the face of God in that place called pineal. So there's and that's my interpretation of it, and there's a million different interpretations of it. But when it comes to topics like this, I just
I like talking about it. I don't like to debate it because I don't think any of us know, right? We're just kind of getting ideas from each other. So Austin, do you think that people actually worship a being of Satan, or do you think the idea of 666 is the elite's way of forcing people into a belief system? So meaning Monster Energy Drink, Google, CERN, all these companies that use the 666, they put it into barcodes. They've used it constantly. And do you think that those people are putting the 666 in their products because they're paying homage to a being of Satan, or do you think they're putting it into the stuff so that people like us look at it and say, oh, these guys must believe in Satan, therefore I'm going to go the opposite direction and put myself in this belief system of Christianity, and then the elite get what they want, which is people believing the Bible that says, let wicked be wicked, let evil be evil, let wars happen because they must happen, and these things must take place. What's your opinion of that?
I think a lot of what you said at the end is what I think, and then really it's just symbolic of an internal decision to choose opposition to what is right. Because the thing they don't want everyone to know is there's an internal battle in everyone.
Yes.
And they basically have an inner dialogue, and choosing what's right is what it's all about. And
That's why I said the closest thing to truth that there is that, like a cartoon that has the devil and an angel on your shoulders. That's the closest thing that there is to truth, I think. That inside of you is God and is Satan. Again, it's the adversary. It's the adversary to that goodness.
That's true. That's true. It's that the is God and is the adversary. Like, is God is really just, of course, a limited portion of Creator, right? Because it could only be that. But it's not like you're limited and thrown in a box because of that. It's like you are just trying to figure out what all you got, and you still don't even know. And you'll probably never really fully know that life is the pursuit of attaining that knowledge. But it was gifted to you because you're a compartmentalization of a bigger power. And the acknowledgement of a bigger power is what helps you to begin to utilize these powers you have. You're like a superhero. That's my opinion.
I totally agree. I think that there's once you've admitted that there is a creator, that there is something far greater than you that had to create this place. There's no way accidentally the earth is here. Once you've gone there, now you've opened up your slate to all kinds of possible discoveries and anything that you want to seek truth. I think that the creator's there to help you because most likely they're inside you and actually willing to answer prayers. If you're saying, I want strength, I want comfort, I want peace, those kind of things. So I totally agree with you. And I think that
look at the lengths that they went to sell us relativism and to sell us on the fact that there isn't a creator.
Right.
That ought to tell you something, right?
Yeah, because everything that we believe now, or that they believe about the Big Bang and the expanding universe, those things all had to happen because the other possibility was that we were the center of the universe. So they don't want that. Yep. So then they had to go to the next step. And with that came all the nonsense that follows because it's not correct. Right. But they know with mathematics, they can make anything, quote unquote, look correct. Like I said, you could have a elephant hanging off of a cliff by a blade of grass, and a physics person could write an equation that says that that's possible. But we know it's not. So the same thing happens in the sky. They can write many equations for, these are traveling this fast, and these are how far the stars would have to be. And it's all just meant to make sure that the creator there's an excuse for the creator to not be possible.
Right.
Even though,
and you can test them, right? And so then you like the historical evidence, and when you call what is that, and anthropological evidence, what is that? Well, it's like you dig in the ground and you find stuff, and it supports it. So I think what they're doing is they're banking on people either just throwing it out, which they've got most of the world doing, or they give you a big portion of it, and they're hoping that you overlook the historical and anthropological evidence supporting it. And then you don't actually realize the bigger piece, which is that they created a narrative so that you misunderstand those pieces and remove some of their crucial parts. And it's you have to give it to them. It's a good little plot they got, but it's it's about somehow sifting through it. So the only way that you can even begin that journey is it comes down to one major thing. And it's like, are you actually trying to seek the truth? Because you have to understand the creator knows everything that you could even potentially try to manipulate or craft a certain way. He knows all of it. And if you're willing to do that, then you'll start to get to the truth. And none of us know all of it because it's all been a lie that we've been brainwashed with. So that's it. Again.
Agree.
And while we have a slight pause in there, I've been playing a video by that flat fellow since the symbology of 666 came out in the discussion. And most of us have seen this, before. But one of the things that I had never seen before is the layout of the Outback steakhouses. When you plot them on a map, they all come out to be little stars. That was kind of cool. So I just wanted to give...
there it is.
Yep, that flat fellow a shout out on that. But it's right. It's everywhere around us, and even in the naming of federal monuments, we've talked about this before on the show. Like Devil's Tower, for example, used to be called Bear's Lodge. And there's so many things named after the devil or his demons in this whole world, this country, in this world. And, it's clear who these are an homage to, right? And the thing that's crazy about it, and this is the thing that really confuses people, because I've always had this question. In the Bible, it tells us straight up that, the devil is the god of this world, right? And that when you have the Bible telling you something as stark as that, then you're saying, well, what the hell am I supposed to believe then? And which God is writing the Bible, right? It really, really, it all serves to convolute every message that's out there. And that's why all of us are saying that, you really have to follow that Christ within. And, to determine what your truths are, because man, everything is such a lie.
Yeah, that's a fact. They've got it all twisted around and confused. But I think what you guys were saying earlier is right, in that if you're honestly and earnestly pursuing the Creator or God or the truth, that you're not going to get, you won't be punished for that, So in my search for the truth about the flat Earth, about everything, I've read the Bible, I've read the Quran, and the Quran says some interesting things in regards to flat Earth, is talking about, the infinite darkness and all this stuff. It sounds like it's,
I was
beyond.
Surprised at the similarity with the Bible, man. It's the other Abrahamic religion, right? And if you read just the beginning of the Quran, you can tell. I mean, it's cut from the same cloth as the Old Testament, and arguably in a purer form.
Yeah, and then Enoch, like we had talked about earlier, and so I think all somebody can do is, if you can either sit around and turn on Amazon Prime and watch Masonic media and be fed junk that deteriorates your mind and kills your soul, or you can honestly and earnestly pursue truth, and the person who is doing that, I don't believe that that you're ever going to be punished for that, So going way back to a question, has the Bible, or has some of these old historical has the book of has Marco Polo's book, have these books been manipulated? And probably, likely, definitely, if you look at books like the Bible, and they're missing the book of 4 Esdras, it's missing Enoch, so, but in addition to that, they're even if it has been manipulated with, it's all we got at this point. So studying it and studying the lost books, and then reading other historical books and other books like the Quran, you might be able to start putting back together
exactly
a full picture, or at least try to.
Exactly.
And I don't think the person trying to do that is ever going to be punished, even if they're led astray here or there.
I agree. And I want to address somebody in the chat who made a comment earlier that I've been thinking about for the past couple of minutes. But Kingdom in Context wrote in the chat, he says, with as much as Globebusters speaks about the Bible and their broadcast, why haven't they ever had a person on who is competent in the Bible to answer questions on it? And my answer to that, Kingdom Contest, is like, and who is the expert? Even the so-called experts have wildly different opinions, interpretations. There's wildly different interpretations from the Bible to the Torah, just in translation. So, I mean, you say that, and so who are you referring to? Yourself? And if that's true, that's...
Sean's a literalist, right? So he believes that it's exactly as
he is, but
I'll toss myself in the bucket, because as a youth, let's see, around the high school years, I did professional Bible quizzing, where you have to go stand up on a podium, and it's like playing Jeopardy, except for it's for the Bible. Yeah. And I did quite well in that. So I'll at least throw myself into the bucket of somebody who's been studying the Bible my entire life, more or less, and have gone away from it because the church completely, was complete hoax. Screwed
the pooch is the word you're looking for.
Exactly. But but yeah, I mean, another important part of studying the Bible, I think, is having a concordance and trying to put in context the Hebrew and the Greek and understand. Another thing I covered recently on my channel was isosophy, which is Greek numerology. So there's certain things maybe written in the Bible that might have that might need to be decoded with isosophy. And I think that Jesus selecting 33 years as the amount of years he would live has an extremely important significance, and it's the same reason that the Masons highly revert the number 33. So the church in itself completely ignores this, doesn't study it at all, and has no idea about it. And if there's manipulation of the Bible and manipulation of the Christian religion, then I would say that it's manipulated to get it into the current state that it is, and that the Christian body, the Catholic body, the Mormon body, all of them are all completely spiritually dead. None of them know how to know what Jesus was actually teaching, and none of them actually know how to communicate with God. Right. So I believe the church is exactly where the Masons want it to be, and the Bible doesn't need further manipulation because everybody's doing exactly what they want.
Yep.
Right.
And I get
what
that.
else?
Oops. Let me just say this really quick. I get that Sean, Kingdom in Context, is a Bible literalist. I get that, and I fully respect you, Sean, totally, and your studies and everything that you have done. But to summarily say that we've never had an expert on the Bible. What about Robbie Davidson? What about Rob Skiba? We've had several people, Zen Garcia, and all of these people are experts in their own way. And still there's disagreement. So, I mean, what are we to do?
By what metric though? Like what constitutes an expert? I mean, I'm a human being with a brain,
Yeah, in 2022, all that really makes you an expert regarding scripture is that you're willing to accept that a lot of it was manipulated and removed. Because if you don't accept it, then it's basically this big party. And that's even what Daniel's talking about. People will come to and fro. It's a big party. But and knowledge will increase because the knowledge needed to be released when it was. And the requirement to get in the club is to be real about wanting to know what the truth is no matter what it is. And then you get your stamp, you come in, and then we all piece it together. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I also have to say,
perhaps he's looking for
somebody
perhaps he's looking for somebody with a master's degree in biblical and theological studies, which, you can go to school for this stuff, but I mean, look at the school for science and astronomy and all this. The person in the university isn't smarter. They're dumber because they're just being fed a bunch of nonsense. So, if maybe he's talking about somebody with a master's in biblical studies, which is a real thing, and you got to give somebody credit who has that degree and has gone through the schooling.
Well, to be honest,
those people would
Sean is a legend. Sean's a legend. Like that dude does know a ton about scripture, bro. Absolutely nothing but salute to him. I will say that.
So does Just Jack, right? It's Just Jack. Well, he's never been on, but
the acknowledgement we all need to operate under is that, dude, we're in that era of time where we're just trying to uncover the truth, and it's a lot.
I agree. And one thing that I have to say, quite bluntly and quite frankly, it is because of the people that think that their interpretation is the only correct interpretation and criticize others for not following that interpretation that is the biggest turnoff to people that are investigating it. And, I hate to say that, but it's true. And that's why it drives a lot of people away from Christianity. That's why you need to get out of your debate mode and enter into a conversation mode. That makes a lot more sense to me because nobody is going to agree on everything. I mean, we don't even agree with each other on this panel about what exactly the flat earth model is, right? Let alone all the religion and everything that, goes back to the beginnings of creation. There's just too much there, and everybody is unique and everybody has their own interpretations of it. And while I respect Sean and his channel and his work, I just think that's a little unfair to make the statement that you did, Sean. That just really wasn't fair.
Well,
and I'll also say this: the Bible, I believe, is the Word of God. You know, some people say, "Oh, it was written by this guy and that guy," but I do believe that God spoke to these men and told them to what exactly to write down. So
But why do you believe
God's
that?
voice is it's described as a booming, thundering sound that is something I've never heard. You know, you can say God told me to do this and God told me to do that, but God's voice in the Bible is described as a loud, booming, thundering sound. And so the way I think that God speaks to most people is through the Word, is through the Bible, and that means that Scripture takes on different meaning based on who's reading it and at what point in time they're reading it. So when when I was young and 19 and I read a certain Bible verse, it meant something to me, and it allowed me to see something and to learn something. And then 10 years later in my life, I read the same verse and I got something completely different out of it. And I learned something totally new from the same verse. So God can speak to different people and tell them different things through his word. And to say that the Bible only has one meaning for all people through all time, I can tell you that's wrong. From my personal experience, the Bible has had certain scriptures have had different meanings, and God has spoken to me through those scriptures throughout different times in my life. So there's certainly can't be one, one answer and one meaning to each and every word in the Bible.
And that is the beauty of Scripture, is that it is multi-contextual for a lot of people. It can touch people on a multitude of different levels, and that's a good thing, I think. I mean, some may.
Yeah, but that's Eckhart Tolle too. Same thing, right?
I agree with that also, yeah. And I love Eckhart Tolle's work, right? But yeah, me too. I guess it's where you're at.
Yeah, I totally
Which Eckhart Tolle's work is an exact description of the Tartarian Wars.
Yeah, no,
right down to the four elephants being tied together and a castle being on top. I mean, that's right out of Marco Polo's book on the Tartarian Wars. Kublai Khan had the four elephants tied together and a castle on top of them.
So
very interesting similarities between Tolkien and Tartarian.
One thing that I just can't get around is the Old Testament God cannot be Jesus. They're completely different characters. So when you say you think God wrote the Bible, well, which part? Because if he wrote the Old Testament and the New Testament, very clearly, you cannot have a guy who murders babies in one and then comes back and says, oh, actually turn the other cheek. Love your enemies. Well, God didn't love his enemies. He killed their children. So they're not the same person. So if they're not the same person, then we have to look at it and say, well, why does the Old Testament tell a certain story? Jesus comes telling a new story. To me, it seems like Jesus came telling a new story. And then they just, whoever it was, probably the Romans, said, let's steal this guy and let's connect him to the Hebrew religion, the Old Testament, and pretend like he brought a new religion along or that he changed things a little bit. So, I mean, to me, when I hear people say God wrote the Bible, so God wrote that he was this angry, vindictive, jealous God at the beginning, and then he went away for a little while and then came back as Jesus, completely different.
Yeah.
And then he's going to come again to kill everybody again. He's turn the other cheek, love your neighbors, coming back pretty soon to judge everybody and kill his enemies.
Yeah.
Right. To be fair, if you just look at it through this perspective of how egregious you have to behave to be his enemy, and he came in a different time where, trust me, bro, I'm there with you, where it's like the judgment that happened in the Old Testament, which is anthropologically supported just more and more. It sounds really crazy. Like, bro, almost every big truth bomb sounds crazy, though. Like, they would have to be doing something crazy for me to even wrap my mind around that being the judgment. But, dude, something that can make everything like what we're experiencing and where we're living, like the stationary Earth that we live on, the stationary plane with the beauty of the sky moving within this magnetic field that moves all around us, and we can actually like cymatically affect. I mean, that's like next level. And so I have to concede that if there's some truth in that,
by God through his angels, right?
I mean, the instructions, and it's all about like the vibration of the cymatic pattern of the word that you put out. I think there's a lot of truth to it. I think that they've messed with a lot of it. They've definitely lied about every doctrine taught religiously. but as to the severity of punishment, and is it diametrically opposed to the Messiah's teachings? I don't think so, because actually the Messiah was pretty point blank and very blunt and blatant, and it would have to be crazy. But personally, I think that the world was so crazy that there were hybrids and the most egregious forms of rebellion and just like disgust and depravity that you could imagine, that you could even imagine. So like beyond our imagination. And I think like, so if it's that and then everything ceases to exist, then what are your viable options or responses, right? Like that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, I believe take the good and leave the bad. I mean, it's that simple. Take the good things Jesus said, which are many. I almost agree with every word Jesus said. So you take those and you operate your life through that. But the Old Testament, it's hard to take some of that stuff and say it's the same God. I mean, Jesus hung out with the sinners, right? He hung out with the prostitutes and that kind of thing. Well, God in the Old Testament wouldn't even let somebody who was born without a hand approach the altar because they were maimed. He didn't like people that were maimed. I mean, it's a completely different character. Why somebody without a hand who's not allowed to?
Well, but
in
wasn't
my
that a part
opinion-
of God's plan? I mean, after the Garden of Eden, God said that there's going to be a veil between man and God, and Jesus came to remove the veil.
Oh yeah, the opposite.
In my opinion, the entity stomping around the garden who ultimately punished Adam and Eve, created them, was not the Most High.
Correct.
That was a different entity entirely.
Yeah.
And Yeshua referred to himself as the truth, as one, the way, the truth, and the light.
And
guys, he exposed the church of his day as being, a den of vipers in the synagogue of Satan. So.
Yep. And guys, as much as this is fascinating and all that, but I know exactly where this conversation is headed, and I don't want to be here for 6 hours because that is what happens here. And we have just about burned
That's
up
a good call, Bob.
I know, right? We've just about burned up our 3 hours, so it's time to wrap it up, guys. But I think we'll stop it there. And Ryan, you are certainly welcome back at any point in time. Keep us up to date on this, and I will still be following you, and I will keep everybody up to date. But so you, in closing, last few bits about your trip. I know you're looking for somebody that could, possibly go on this journey with you. Is there any specific equipment or talents or anything that they may have that would be preferable? And of course, we can give them your contact information. It's all in the show notes. But why don't we begin with you and give us a kind of a hint about what would really make this journey more ideal?
Oh, well, I don't know. I think to be honest, I probably have everything I need. I do have everything I need. And it was my intention to also go through at least a large portion of it solo, and that's for spiritual reasons. Like Moses, he went off by himself to the mountain. Jesus went into the wilderness by himself, and there's also a quote on that on my website about just going, doing some time with just you and God, or you and the Creator. And so when I, as far as a companion goes, if the main reason I brought that up was how scary it is, especially the cold. Like I said, the big, everyone's so scared of the wildlife, and I got to be honest, the big thing that scares you up there is the cold. It's far scarier than anything. So the having another person is certainly is good. But Morgell's land himself has also crossed the North Pole solo and unsupported. So it's definitely possible to do by yourself. If somebody really, understands my reasoning for wanting to go, and they're on the same page as me, then I definitely would go with somebody. Of course, I have plenty of gear I can tell you to bring so that you're prepared for Arctic conditions. But So there's a contact form on my website if you have the funding and you can take the time off and you're physically in shape to walk 600 miles, then by all means come join me and let's go find some truth. So I'm always open to that, and my route is on my website, so people could join me at any point, whether it's at my next stop at Baker Lake or even further north as far as Joe Haven or Resolute. So anybody and everybody's welcome to join me. My location's on the GPS. Find me, and if you want me to, give my gear list, I have a PDF with all the gear and recommendations about what you should bring as far as sleeping bag and tent. I can help you out with that. So a companion is welcome by all means, but I'm not. I think that there's also. I think that you could be rewarded for going out and by yourself and spending a little time with just you and nature.
Okay, beautiful. All right. So, and like I said, I'll be tracking you the entire way. And guys, if you want to make a donation to this, please head over to his webpage. This is something that I'm sure he's going to be keeping us up to date on. Thus far, he's been really forthcoming on everything that he's done. And I think this is a great effort. And I think it's really something that we can get behind and support. So I would definitely recommend everybody that they do that. I gave him a nice donation last night, and hopefully that helps you out in your travels there. So we just need to get you a lot of support, and most importantly, good thoughts and good vibrations, good prayers going towards you.
Yeah, that's probably more important. And thank you for the donation, Bob. That really helps. You asked about equipment that I need, and the big thing I'm saving up for right now is a used snowmobile. Hopefully, I can get a used snowmobile, because that would really get me to the pole a lot faster. But then again, I need the exercise of man hauling, because I don't believe you can. I'm not sure if you could take a snowmobile to the North Pole or not. But yeah, the polar gear is expensive, so the donations have really helped. And also, right now I'm in a motel, so I can get on Wi-Fi and get some updates. So as I move north, the donations help me stop at a place like that, so I can also stop and get on Wi-Fi, give you guys an update.
Excellent. Okay, beautiful. All right, so let's go around the panel once so everybody say their goodbyes and their last comments. Austin, let's move to you. And what do you think about all this? And before you get out of here.
Yeah, I think this dude is a legend, bro. Keep crushing, man. Like, keep going. And let us know what you need. If you need a used snowmobile, let's just rally around and give this dude some money. At the least, hopefully he can document an reception of his journey. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy the song. Got a lot of content coming, a lot going on with the court. We'll do what, but you know the deal. Whitsett gets it on YouTube and IG, etc. And yeah, great show as always. Much love.
All right, beautiful. All right. Okay, and we'll spin over to you, John TheMorgile. What do you got coming up, sir?
Yeah, not much on the horizon for me. Austin, man, whenever you're in South Carolina, over in Bob's neck of the woods, hit me up, and we should definitely jam, hang out, man. Hopefully I'll have my computer fixed soon, and I'll be posting content up on the social media as soon as I get my computer back fixed. It has a power supply and a battery issue, so it's just it's dead completely. But anyway, great show, guys. Thanks so much for having me, and I will see everybody next week. Love y'all.
All right, beautiful. And before I move on to Jeran, let me just respond to Kingdom in Context, Sean. Your last comment. Sean, it's been a combination of both things. Robbie, admittedly, yes, it had been about the conference promotions mostly. Although you cannot have Robbie Davidson and Rob Skiba on your show without, biblical talk coming up. And believe me, that happens. And it really, every single time it turns into this huge debate, and everybody's got this huge, and that's fine. And I'm all for that. But it's like I said, everybody has their opinion on it, and people are really, really attached to those opinions, Sean. And while I respect, people's opinion and the way that they feel about it, That isn't the direct purview of what we're going for here on Globebusters for the most part. I mean, we do touch on it. We did today, probably more so than often than we usually do, because this is more a show about the technical aspects of flat Earth. But the religious part of it is absolutely part of this journey. I acknowledge that 100%. But I am not going to. I personally will never say, well, it's this way or the highway. And I don't think that it's right that anybody else does either, even though I fully respect their thoughts and, what they say about that. So, and that's all cool. And that way we keep it in the realm of discussion instead of debate, because like I said, when you debate people, people are so ego driven in these debates, you turn into them. And I can give you lots of examples where that has happened and turned otherwise good people into just freaking creeps, straight up. And most people know who I'm talking about. So I just don't think it's a good thing. And I think that this whole debate thing has done nothing but cause harm. And that's my opinion. So there you have it. So Jeran, last but not least, sir, we'll move around to you. And what do you think? What do you got coming up, sir?
All kinds of good stuff. But Ryan, just to let you know, more power to you. I will be following along. Can't wait to see it. And I sent you a little donation. So good luck. And hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeran.
No. Yeah, no problem. And as far as me, yeah, I'm going to be switching my content a little bit or pivoting it fairly soon. I just see how it goes. But I think I kind of fell for a trick over the past a long while without realizing it. Like the fact that I hate the mainstream, I hate the news, I can't stand the news. I think it's all garbage. And yet since I do these live shows, like, the ones Thursdays and Fridays, I have to kind of keep up with it, right? Because you have to know what's going on. So I feel like I'm doing exactly what they want me to do, which is us talking about the stupid Russia war and us comparing videos saying this is fake and this is older and this is new and this came out. It's like that's what they want, is just to keep us tied up in nonsensical conversations and back and forth to where we actually don't get anywhere. And I feel like I was getting somewhere before. So I'm going to be going back to doing videos, making a video. We're going to have them come out on Thursdays at noon and do those as premieres so people can get used to that. I'll probably still keep my Friday show for a while, and I'll be here on Globebusters on Sundays. So that's what's coming up. Rather than talking about helicopter crashing in the ocean and them saying it's between 9th and 11th Street and us saying, oh, why would they? That's just exactly what I think they want, is giving them power to these lies that they tell. So not anymore. I'm going to try and fix that. So I'll still be here on Globebusters. You can catch me here. And that's about it.
All right. All right. Perfect. Okay, guys. Well, I guess that does it for us then. And Ryan, thank you so much for joining us, sir. It's been a pleasure having you for the second time. And like I said, you're welcome back anytime. And I will definitely be keeping people up to date. And anytime you can get into an internet connection, just let us know, keeps us up to date. And I think that'll be great. So
sounds good.
Yeah, sounds
and
good.
And Jeran, spot on with your comment just now about not doing what they want us to. And Bob, thank you for stepping in when you did, because I think one thing they want is people bickering about that Bible book and all that. So that's one thing they want. I'm glad that came to a stop. And Jeran, man, spot on. I feel the same way you do. Instead of worrying about this war or that thing or what, it's like, no, I've got. I'm worried about staying warm, and I'm worried about catching food, and put at least put myself in a position where I can focus on things that are real and things that matter, not that all that goofy stuff that they want you getting tripped up on. So excellent stuff.
The last 2 years we've been just going back and forth between, okay, they told us we have to wear masks here, but not here, and how about you over there, and how about them over there? So it's all about exactly what they want us to be talking about. Do you take we knew from the very beginning no one's going to take the vaccine. So why do we have to talk about it? Why does it have to be an every week thing? And I'm actually talking to myself here, not anybody else. I'm the one who's bringing it up every week and covering what's going on. Oh, now it's AIDS, and now it's this, and now this doctor says this, and it's the remdesivir, but we got nowhere because.
And I'll tell you one thing they don't want you talking about is people going to the North Pole to look for Hyperborea. No. That's one thing that's not on their agenda. So right. I'll continue to pursue that. Austin, amazing song. Thank you for being here, Jeran. Awesome to have you here along Old Testament, New Testament. I love you, brother. And Bob, thank you for hosting. John, I'm glad you're here as well. It's been an awesome show. I'm glad to come back for the second time, and I can't wait to bring you guys some SD cards full of who knows what is going to be found up there.
All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to it. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, maybe go where Ryan's going and you'll get help.
Yep. Excellent. All right, cool. All right, guys. That's the show for this week. Glad you could join us. Support Ryan if you can. He'll certainly appreciate it. And, you know, I hope we didn't have any hurt feelings or anything like that. You know, like I said, Sean, I respect you and your work very much. But, you know, I really do try to keep Globebusters on a technically related. I mean, I've read the Bible. I've read several philosophies, but I'm no expert on it. I have my own thoughts on it. But, you know, some people will agree with some people won't agree with some. And personally, I think that's one of those things that's just not where I want to go. So I do what I can do for Flat Earth and, you know, contribute what I think is right. And that helps. And that's what I'll keep doing. And you keep right on doing exactly what you're doing, because we are all needed in this battle, because it is a spiritual battle. And, you know, we all have to take our best path to defeating this darkness that has come over the world. So guys, we'll see you next week. Until then, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind. There's truth inside. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.